Chapter 924. Confusion. The death of these people also meant that all the core strength of Sun Moon Divine Hall and mighty heavenly sword region were completely destroyed. From now on, Sun Moon Divine Hall and mighty heavenly sword region would continue to exist, but they would not be able to recover their name of sacred grounds. Xianxia turned around. When he gazed towards members of Supreme Ocean Palace and Absolute Monarch Sanctuary, all their pupils shrank as they unconsciously stepped back. Starting from tomorrow, go and take in the remainder of mighty heavenly sword region and Sun Moon Divine Hall under you. If they resist or if they cannot be controlled, just kill them directly. All of their experts have already died here. The rest should be extremely easy for you all to take care of, Xianxia said with a very indifferent tone. As for the resources from mighty heavenly sword region and Sun Moon Divine Hall, deliver half to Demon Imperial City and split the other half among yourselves. Seeing Xianxia didn't have any intention of killing them, they were already relieved. But after suddenly hearing that they could take half of the resources of 2 sacred grounds, all of them were overjoyed. Sun Moon Divine Hall and mighty heavenly sword region were both sacred grounds with 10,000 years of strength, just like them. There was no question that 10,000 years of accumulation would lead to enormous resources and insider information. To receive half of it between their 2 sacred grounds was a great fortune for them. There was no reason for them not to try their hardest. With a bang, Xianxia threw Yixuanj, who had gone limp from being scared next to Xia Yuanba's feet, and then said a few words in a low voice to Xia Yuanba. Xia Yuanba's eyes brightened, then he nodded slightly. He carried Yixuanj firmly with palms twice the size of Xianxia's. Even until now, Yixuanj still didn't understand why Xianxia would give him such special treatment. Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace quickly left the illusory demon realm with Xia Yuanba and Zai Jai leading them. Xianxia accompanied the little demon empress in front of the imperial tomb. He asked in concern, "Kei, are you really not going to the profound sky continent to take care of mighty heavenly sword region and Sun Moon Divine Hall personally?" The little demon empress shook her head slightly. "The ringleaders have already been executed. Everything that has happened now is enough to comfort the souls of Royal Father and the others up in heaven. The rest are just some pawns that were manipulated. Just let them die on their own." Compared to the little demon empress before who slaughtered all the kin and relatives of Duke Huai Palace and butchered Demon Imperial City, her state of mind now was a lot more peaceful. The edge and might were still the same, but the anger and hatred that were once as deep as the ocean were now gone. Xianxia held her softly and said next to her ear, "Kei, don't you worry. There will never be a disaster like the one before ever again." Where once they could rely on the primordial profound arc to travel between dimensions, now they could do this through the dimensional profound formation. Following the completion of the dimensional profound formation, Xiao Lai, who had his heart set on heading home, returned to Floating Cloud City the very first day, and a worried Xiao Lingxi was naturally with him. Xiao Yun, number 7 under heaven, and Xiao Yonggan also came back to Floating Cloud City together. Kang Yue, who had been worried about national affairs, also quickly returned to Blue Wind Imperial City. A few days later, accompanied by 2,000 disciples of Frozen Cloud Asgard, Xianxia and Feng Zuer finally came back to the snow region of extreme ice through the dimensional profound formation. The fierce battle between the little demon empress and Xuanyuan Wenchen caused a large half of the ice and snow to melt in the snow region of extreme ice. Nearly half a year had passed since then in the extremely cold weather here, and the land had once again become snowy white. A thick layer of snow and ice was already under their feet. It was just that almost no glaciers existing within their sight. "Senior Master Murong, are you really going to rebuild Frozen Cloud Asgard yourselves? Do you really not need any help from Demon Imperial City?" Xianxia said to Murong Xianxia and the others. Murong Xianxia said, "The old Frozen Cloud Asgard was built by the ancestors themselves using frozen cloud arts. If the ancestors could do it, we can do it as well. And under the leadership of Asgard Master, the overall strength of our generation is stronger than any other previous generation. The new Frozen Cloud Asgard will only be better. Before that, we will first find the bodies of the ancestors. They were all placed in the deep layers under ice. They should all be secure and unharmed," said Chu Yueli. "All right then," Xianxia nodded. The ice formed by frozen cloud arts under the permanent freezing weather here would be 100 times sturdier than glazed bricks and tiles. "I believe during this period of time, Everyone already has a well-thought-out plan for the appearance of frozen cloud Asgard. Asgard Master doesn't have to worry at all. We might even be able to surprise you when it's done, Feng Hangsu said with a smile on her face. The disciples of frozen cloud Asgard scattered one after another. Back when frozen cloud Asgard became flying ashes and dissolving smoke, they were depressed with tear-filled eyes. But now that they had to use their own hands to rebuild the frozen Asgard, each and every one of them showed excitement and hope. As he watched them, a smile appeared on Xianxia's face and he completely stopped worrying. Over these few years, frozen cloud Asgard had encountered many disasters, but it could finally be at peace again. He at last did not disappoint the Gong Yuxian who begged in tears and entrusted him with the position of Asgard Master. And he protected the home where little Fairy grew up. Big Brother Yun, why are there two other dimensional profound formations over there? Feng Zuer suddenly pointed towards south. Ahead from the dimensional profound formation that connected the two great continents, their two-dimensional profound formations that were a lot smaller comparatively could be seen. And these two profound formations, I seem to feel some residue aura from our divine phoenix sect. Yunqi smiled and said, these two are also dimensional profound formations. The one with lighter profound light connects to Floating Cloud City, and the one that has a darker color connects to Phoenix City. These two were both built by your royal father using all their power in a month's time. Ah, royal father, Feng Zuer spoke softly. That day at the Ocean Palace, I only mentioned it casually, and as expected, he kept it in mind. In Floating Cloud City, there is also a dimensional profound formation that connects to Phoenix City. The reason your royal father went through all this trouble is just to make it more convenient for you to go back frequently. Yunqi looked at Zuer and said. Feng Zuer's lips moved a little. Her starry eyes became slightly misty as she suddenly said, Big Brother Yun, I indeed haven't gone back in a really long time. Royal Father and the others must miss me. Phoenix City should be under reconstruction now, and they would most need my help during this time, so I want to go back to Phoenix City for a while. Yunqi nodded agreeably. During this time, I will be in Floating Cloud City. With the connection of the profound formations, we can see each other anytime. Zuer can stay in Phoenix City during the day and come back into my arms obediently during the night. Big Brother Yun, you are getting naughtier and naughtier. Zuer pouted playfully as enchanting red clouds emerged on her angelic face. The two of them parted before the teleportation formations. One returned to Phoenix City and the other returned to Floating Cloud City. The teleportation formation in Floating Cloud City was set up right in Zio family's courtyard. However, when Yunqi walked out of the teleportation formation, he didn't go straight to Zio Lingxi and the others. Instead, he flew up into the air and his spiritual sense instantly shrouded all of Floating Cloud City. The strength of Yunqi's spiritual sense now was a lot stronger than before. Every hint of aura in Floating Cloud City clearly appeared under his spiritual senses. Very quickly, he targeted his destination, flew towards east of the city like a strike of lightning, and landed next to a middle-aged man in silver clothing. When a silhouette suddenly appeared before him, the man in silver clothing immediately became alert. But when he realized that it was Yunqi, he hurriedly bowed down. This humble one is the palace master of Usura Palace, absolute monarch sanctuary. I have waited here many days for Asgard Master Yun under the command of Saint Emperor. Many days? You came here this early? Yunqi mumbled. Yes, Asgard Master Yun's order must not be neglected, the middle-aged man in silver clothing who called himself Luo Kai said in an extremely respectful tone. Where is he? Said Yunqi. In the small house right behind me, Luo Kai answered. Give Xuanyu and Wendao to me. As for the other one, you will wait here for another day. Yes. A short moment later, Luo Kai carried a man in black out and placed him next to Yunqi. Xuanyu and Wendao's face was sallow. He lost the imposing manner and arrogance that he once had. The way he laid there made him look like a dog with all its bones broken. Ah! A difficult moan came from Xuanyuan's throat. He slowly lifted his head and finally saw Yunqi's face. At that instant, it was like he was shocked by lightning. His pupils immediately dilated a few dozen times. Yunqi. HMPH, Yunqi sneered. Xuanyu and Wendao, do you still recognize this place? Xuanyu and Wendao's mouth opened wide. The moment he saw Yunqi, he fell into an abyss of desperation. In his extreme fear, forget about responding, he couldn't even say a single word. Yunqi picked him up and flew up into the air. He quickly returned to the Zio clan, followed an aura, then directly landed in Zio Lai's courtyard. Chair, you're back. Seeing Yunqi, Zai Lai put down Xiao Yonggan, who was just put to sleep, down from his arms lightly. His face was filled with a gentle smile. Since you're back, you should stay here for a few more days. These past 2 days, Zir has already tidied up and cleaned up your room. Amen, of course I'll stay for a few more days after leaving home for this long, Yunqi responded. Grandfather, I have a present for you. Present? Yunqi reached his arms out, sucked over Xuanyuan Wendao, who was outside of the door, and threw him in front of Xiao Lai. Xiao Lai jumped and asked in surprise, "Who is this?" "His name is Xuanyuan Wendao." Yunqi took a small breath and said each word sharply. "He was the one who murdered Uncle Xiao 24 years ago." Xiao Lai's body shook violently as if he had heard a thunderclap. The gentle smile on his face became pale all of a sudden. Yunqi immediately held onto Xiao Lai, and he said with his brows lowered, "The mastermind of this whole thing back then is already dead, and everyone who participated in it received what they deserved. I only left this man alive, because he should be executed by grandfather yourself." In the years Xiao Lai raised him and Xiao Lingxi, the two things that he desired the most for the longest time was to heal his profound veins and to find the murderer who killed Xiao Ying. In the end, Yunqi not only recovered his profound veins, his name had also famous throughout the world. As for the latter, that had become Xiao Lai's biggest knot in his heart. But now, the murderer whom he had been searching for, whom he dreamt of killing, had finally been found and was right before his eyes. More than 20 years of pain and hatred which had accumulated now surged violently in his soul. It's you, you killed my son, it's you." At this moment, his expression twisted beyond recognition. He, who had always been as calm as water, released a strong sadness and an equally strong hostility. Yunqi didn't comfort or try to stop him, because he knew that this was the biggest hatred and sore point in Xiao Lai's life. He had to work off his anger to his heart's content and end it himself. If not, his heart and soul would forever be trapped under a heavy shadow and never be truly free. Xiao Lai suddenly reached out and grabbed Xuanyuan Wendao by the collar and turned his sallow, desperate face over. Looking at his sworn enemy, who he felt irreconcilable hatred for, that murdered his son and destroyed his family, Xiao Lai's eyes almost burst. His whole body shook uncontrollably. I will kill you." In Yunqi's whole life, he had never seen Xiao Lai showing such a horrifying expression and making such terrifying sounds. He grabbed upwards onto Xuanyuan Wendao's throat as all of his pain and hatred condensed within his trembling hands. Wahhhh. Right at this moment, the clear sound of an infant's wail came over. This familiar crying sound caused Xiao Lai's body to tremble all over. As if by reflex, he tossed Xuanyuan Wendao aside and rushed back into the house. He hurriedly and carefully picked up Xiao Yonggan, who had suddenly woken up. In the instant that he picked up Xiao Yonggan, the hostility on him almost vanished all at once. "Yonggan, be good. Don't cry, don't cry. It's great-grandfather's fault. Great-grandfather must have frightened Yonggan." Xiao Lai hugged the baby tightly and comforted it with a gentle voice. His slightly lowered eyes were filled with infinite pampering and gentleness. There was not a trace of any hatred or ferociousness just now, as if he had completely forgotten Xuanyuan Wendao's existence. Very quickly, Xiao Yuanan stopped crying and had fallen back asleep steadily in his arms. "Yunqi, chair." Xiao Lai didn't put Xiao Yonggan down. When he faced Xuanyuan Wendao once again, his eyes were already very calm and peaceful. "This man killed my son. I wanted to find him and cut him into pieces even in my dreams. But these hands of mine are for holding Yonggan. They cannot be contaminated by the blood of filth and sin. So help grandfather sacrifice him before the grave of Yonggan's grandfather and let his soul in heaven be at rest." "All right," Yunqi promised loudly, and he felt an ease in his heart that could not be described with words. This was easier than having Xiao Lai kill Xuanyuan Wendao himself in revenge. Amen. Xiao Lai tightly held onto the child who was fast asleep in his arms. He lifted his head, looked towards the sky, and a slight smile appeared on his face. Even though there was some sadness in his smile, it was much more relaxed and peaceful than any of the smiles that Yunqi had seen on him. At that moment, Yunqi grabbed Xuanyuan Wendao, went to Xiao clan's rear mountains, and threw him before Xiao Ying's tombstone. "Xuanyuan Wendao, it's time to send you to reunite with your father." Yunqi stepped right on top of him and made his head bow deeply in front of Xiao Ying's tombstone. "Oh no, when your father died, both his body and soul were burnt to nothing. Even if you walked through all 18 layers of hell, you wouldn't be able to find him." My Uncle Zyro's family were a kind-hearted bunch, but because of trash like you, this tragedy happened to them. Even if you died 10,000 times, you wouldn't be able to pay your debts. Yun Chi's face darkened as he said in hatred, "Go to hell to atone for your sins." Phoenix flames instantly burned, and Xuanyu and Wendao only had time to make a desperate scream before turning into scattered ashes that sprinkled before Xiao Ying's grave. Yun Chi took 2 steps back, bowed deeply towards Xiao Ying's tombstone, and said in a low voice, "Uncle Xiao, you saved my family back then but encountered disaster because of it. Your kindness was something my Yun family could hardly return. But today, we finally avenged you. Now that we have avenged you and there are descendants for the Xiao family, I hope your soul in heaven can smile and be at ease." After taking another deep bow, Yun Chi flew into the air. Just as he was about to fly back to the Xiao clan, he suddenly hesitated and then changed directions and flew towards the east side of Floating Cloud City. A great confusion had always been entrenched in his heart. It was the 50 kilograms of purple vein divine crystal that was hidden in Floating Cloud City. What kind of concept was 50 kilograms of purple vein divine crystal? The entire profound sky continent couldn't produce 50 kilograms of purple vein divine crystal in an average of 100 years. And a full 50 kilograms suddenly appeared in a Floating Cloud City, which was known to be incredibly poor. The strangest thing was that the process of a large amount of purple vein divine crystals developing should take a few thousand years, or even 10,000 years. It would definitely release a strong aura during this period of time as well. But those large sects, especially the 4 great sacred grounds, with such high-quality resources and extremely sharp senses of smell and detection, none of them noticed such a huge divine crystal mine all these years. It had instead been detected by Divine Phoenix sect a few years back. It was as if these 50 kilograms of purple vein divine crystal had just suddenly appeared in the recent years. Chapter 925. The unexpected truth: the area east of Floating Cloud City had originally been a land of hills and mountains, but because of the Divine Phoenix army, it had been flattened into a wide expanse of flat plains. Even though Yun Chi had grown up in Floating Cloud City, he had never been to this place before he reached 16 years of age. There were many low-level profound beasts which existed around the hills and mountains. If Xiao Lingxi or Xia Yuanber accompanied him, Xiao Lai would not restrict him from venturing into those places. But the one place that Xiao Lai absolutely would not let him and Xiao Lingxi explore was the mountainous region east of Floating Cloud City. Perhaps it was because it was too far from Floating Cloud City, so Xiao Lai would not have been able to stop worrying about their safety if they went. Yun Chi arrived in the skies above this place as he quickly expanded the range of his spiritual perception, thereby covering the entire area which the Divine Phoenix army had trampled. Even though it was very faint, Yun Chi could still faintly sense that a sealing profound formation had been set up on these lands. It was very clear that after the Divine Phoenix sect had discovered the purple crystal deposit in this place, the first thing they did was to lay down an invisible isolation barrier in order to prevent other parties from detecting the aura given off by the purple crystals. But what was strange was that even though his spiritual perception expanded to cover a full 10-kilometer radius, he could not sense the aura of any purple crystals. The Divine Phoenix sect had been without a doubt extremely careful and cautious when it came to this matter. So they had swept this place clean and had not left behind any traces of their activities. After all, to the Divine Phoenix sect of that time, the consequences would have been nothing short of disastrous if their activities had been discovered by the 4 sacred grounds. After he descended from the skies above and stepped onto the flattened ground, Yun Chi stood there with sunken brows as he pondered the situation. But he was still unable to figure out how there could be 50 kilograms of purple-veined, divine crystal lying beneath this ground. Previously, this doubt had briefly flashed through his mind, but far too many things had happened after that. So the suspicions he had over these purple-veined divine crystals had been shoved to the back of his mind. But while he was dealing with Xuanyu and Wenshin, he suddenly discovered something that was definitely highly irregular. Even if these 50 kilograms of purple-veined divine crystal were buried deep below the ground, they would still definitely give off an extraordinary, profound crystal aura. It was already extremely unusual that the 4 sacred grounds had not discovered such a deposit. But in addition to that, the members of Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region had paid a visit to Floating Cloud City 24 years ago while they were in hot pursuit of his parents. Yun Qinghang and Mu Yuru. It was also at that time that harm befell Xiao Ying. If they had merely briefly visited the city, one could still barely swallow the idea that they had not discovered the crystal deposit. But after they arrived at Floating Cloud City, they had clearly swept across the surrounding area for many days. They had practically dug up the entire landscape. Given the strength of the spiritual perceptions of people on the level of the sacred grounds, why had they not detected such a large and high-grade purple crystal deposit at all? Furthermore, the people sent to chase and capture Yun Qinghang and Mu Yuru were definitely all individuals who had reached the level of monarch. And the contingent from mighty heavenly sword region had even been personally led by their young master, Xunyuan Wendao. Could it be that this purple crystal deposit had not existed at that time? No, that definitely was not possible. It required an extremely long time to form such a gigantic purple crystal deposit, so how could this have been formed in the short span of a little over 20 years? Other than that, according to his spiritual perception and depth of the ground that had been covertly dug up, this purple crystal deposit had not been buried too deeply. On the contrary, Yun Qi would even say that it had been buried rather near the surface. The spot that was nearest to the surface was a little more than 60 meters in depth. At that time, the Divine Phoenix Army had dispatched an army 200,000 strong to garrison this place, disguising the sounds of the shallow parts of the purple crystal deposit being mined by performing their act every day and causing a huge ruckus. Yun Qi stood in that spot for a very long time, but he just could not puzzle this conundrum out. If one were to see that the four sacred grounds had never discovered this purple crystal deposit, because they had never visited this place even once in the past few millennia, then one could still barely swallow that explanation. But if one were to say that the brains and senses of all of the members of the sacred grounds who had visited Floating Cloud City had completely short-circuited, that was an explanation that was simply unacceptable. Just as Yun Qi was considering whether he wanted to delve into the depths of the mountainous regions, a figure suddenly appeared in the west. That person leisurely and slowly strolled towards where Yun Qi was standing. Yun Qi's gaze swiveled and he caught sight of an old man of medium build and with a kindly-looking face. His eyes jumped as he took to the air and landed in front of that old man. "Grandpa Hong, why would you suddenly be interested in coming to this place?" The old man's footsteps ground to a halt before a small smile appeared on his face. "Ah, so it was the youngest master. Ah, it is about time to offer sacrifices at Madam's grave again. So the master wanted me to pick some of the orchids that Madam loved so much. Youngest master, why have you come to this place?" Within the Xiao family, Yun Qi respected Xiao Lai the most, but the person who came right after Xiao Lai was the person standing in front of him, Xiao Hong. Xiao Hong was originally not someone who belonged to the Xiao family. He was someone who had been rescued by Xiao Lai's father while he was adventuring. Xiao Lai's father had brought him back to the Xiao family after that. He changed his family name to Xiao. He had protected and taken care of Xiao Lai ever since Xiao Lai was young, and he was also fiercely loyal to Xiao Lai. During Yun Qi and Xia Qingyu's wedding, it had also been Xiao Hong who had accompanied and escorted Yun Qi to receive his bride. When the day came to offer sacrifices to his deceased wife came every year, Xiao Lai would always bring along a big bouquet of orchids, because these were the flowers that his deceased wife had loved the most. This was something that Yun Qi and Xiao Lingxi had known since their childhood. "I was just seized by a momentary fancy, so I came to take a look," Yun Qi said as he surveyed the surrounding area. "It looks like there aren't any orchids around here. How about Grandpa Hong and I go to another area to find them?" "That's okay." Xiao Hong smiled as he shook his head. "Presently, the youngest master already has a body that is practically priceless, so how can I ask you to accompany me to perform such a rough and lowly task? In the past, orchids could be found everywhere in this vicinity. But ever since the Divine Phoenix Army arrived in this place, it has been completely flattened, and it seems like the orchids have also become rather hard to find." So those orchids from years past were always harvested from this place," Yun Qi said in a rather touched manner. "Speaking of which, grandfather never let me or little aunt come here and play throughout our early years, so I do not even know what this place looked like before." "Ho, but of course," Xiao Hong said with a chuckle. After that, he spoke in a sentimental voice. "After all, this is a place of sadness for the master, so even he very rarely came here after that happened." "A place of sadness?" Yun Qi asked with mild astonishment. "What exactly happened in this place? Why would it be a place of sadness for grandfather?" "Oh," An astonished expression appeared on Xiao Hong's face. Could it be that the master still hasn't told youngest master yet? Oh ho ho, well that can't be helped. Master definitely would not bring this kind of thing up to the both of you. After all, this is also the place that brings the most pain to master's heart. Xianxia sensed that something was amiss, and he continued to ask, Grandpa Hong, what exactly happened in this place? Why would this be the place that brings the most pain to grandfather's heart? If you know about this, could you please tell me in the greatest detail possible? After all, I'm no longer the small child that I used to be all those years ago. After I find out, it might just be possible that I could think of a way to help grandfather walk out from under the dark shadow cast by this place. To his surprise, Xiao Hong shook his head. There's no helping it. After all, the dead remain buried. However, there's nothing wrong with telling youngest master about this affair. After all, youngest master has already become such an incredible person. Youngest master, are you aware of the circumstances in which Madam passed away all those years ago? Xiao Hong suddenly asked. Xianxia replied, Uncle Xiao Ying had been killed by malicious means all those years ago, and his wife wasted away while pining for him. Furthermore, no one was aware of whether their child was even dead or alive. The impact grandmother received from these events was too great, and the sorrow in her heart ate away at her body like an illness. So she passed away due to melancholy not too long after she gave birth to little Aunt. Even though this wasn't something that grandfather told me himself, this is a story that is well known in the Xiao family and the entire floating cloud city. Could it be that there is still something hidden as well? Before he turned 16, Xianxia had never once suspected that Xiao Lai's wife had taken ill due to her melancholy and had died from sadness after she had given birth to Xiao Lingxi. However, after he turned 16, he returned with the memories of his life in the Azure Cloud continent. So the medical knowledge he had acquired had naturally caused some doubts to form in his mind. As the saying goes, women are weak and delicate, but they become strong as steel once they become mothers. Even though the pain of losing her son pierced into the innermost depths of her heart, Xiao Lai's wife would definitely have transferred all of her attention and love to her newborn daughter once she had given birth to Lingxi. And no matter how much pain she still bore in her heart, she would have tried her best to turn that pain into strength. This was not only a mother's instinct, it was also the grandest thing about motherhood. So she definitely would not have cast aside her daughter and passed away from sadness, no matter what happened. Besides, she definitely was not alone and isolated at that time. There was still Xiao Lai, whom she was madly in love with, by her side. So whether it was medical diagnosis or human nature, it was highly unlikely that Xiao Lai's wife would have passed away from sadness. There had to be other reasons as well. For example, she could have died due to an actual illness. Xiao Hong gazed at the eastern patch of flattened hills as he slowly recounted the story to Xianxia. During those years, young Master Xiao Ying had died from an evil scheme, and youngest master was missing as well. Everything seemed to be going downhill, and Madam was heavily affected by those events. Her face was bathed in tears every single day. Furthermore, she had just gotten pregnant at the time, so the master was afraid that her sorrow would be too excessive and might end up harming her body and her baby. So he did his best to comfort her and cheer her up every single day. Sigh, how could the master also not be filled with sorrow and pain at that time? However, his feelings for Madam were indeed deep to the bone. Xianxia. When Madam had carried Miss Lingxi for 6 months, it just so happened that the orchids in this place were in full bloom. Orchids were the flowers that Madam loved the most, so the master brought Madam to this place to admire the blooming orchid flowers. He planned to use this to soothe a bit of the pain she felt from losing her son. At that time, I had also tagged along to serve and accompany them. Madam's mood did indeed turn better as morning faded to night, and this was a rare sight indeed. But just as the master was about to escort Madam back to Floating Cloud City, an unforeseen mishap suddenly occurred. What mishap? Xianxia immediately asked. Madam was suddenly struck by a bolt of lightning. The scene he had witnessed had occurred over 20 years ago, but when Xiao Hong thought of it right now, his expression still turned into one of trembling fear. Struck by a bolt of lightning. Xianxia had been struck dumb, and for a moment his brain could not process the words he had just heard. What do you mean? How did she just suddenly get struck by lightning? The master and I simply could not puzzle it out either, Xiao Hong said with a sigh of lament. The orchids were in full bloom, and the blue sky seemed to stretch on forever. Moreover, there wasn't even a single cloud in the sky, so there definitely weren't any dark clouds in the vicinity. However, a bolt of lightning suddenly fell from the sky and so happened to strike Madam's body. Furthermore, that bolt of lightning was strangely black in color. Black in color? That is right. The master and I saw it very clearly. It was indeed a black bolt of lightning, and it was the first time either the master or I had seen such a thing in our lives. Its color was as incredibly bizarre as its sudden appearance. At that time, the master thought someone was trying to assassinate him, and that the villain who killed Xiao Ying had come back to tie up all the loose ends. He searched the area in frantic fury, but there wasn't anyone on these hilly slopes but the three of us. Also, no further incidents occurred after that. What happened after that? What happened to grandmother after she was struck by that bolt of black lightning? Xianxia asked in an urgent voice as his brows knit together tightly. It was already extremely unusual for lightning to strike when the sky was clear. If Xianxia had witnessed it, his first reaction would have been to assume it was artificial. Moreover, black-colored lightning, the basic color of lightning profound energy, was purple. Once his Yun family's purple cloud art had reached an extremely high level, the lightning it produced would turn red. But no matter whether it was the profound sky continent, the illusory demon realm, or the azure cloud continent of the past, he had never seen or heard of any person or any sect who was able to create lightning which was pitch black in color. But when Fen Juchen and Xuanyuan Wenchen released their darkness profound energy, extremely compressed darkness profound energy would at times turn into lightning-shaped profound light beams. So when one saw it, it would look like black lightning. But there was basically no darkness profound energy which existed on the profound sky continent of more than 20 years ago. The Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign, the only one who could use darkness profound energy, was securely trapped in the Moon Slaughter Devil nest, which wasn't even on the continent in the first place. After being struck by lightning, Madam fainted dead away and fell into a coma for a full 3 days before finally waking up. However, the weirdest thing was that there were no traces of any wounds inflicted by lightning on Madam's body. But after that, Madam's body became exceptionally weak, and she was frequently affected by fainting spells during the day while nightmares plagued her sleep at night. The master looked for all the famous doctors near and far, and he tried using various remedies, great and small, to strengthen Madam's body. But it was all to no avail. After that, Madam's pregnancy reached a whole 13 months before Miss Lingxi was finally born. After Lingxi was born, Madam's body steadily deteriorated, and it was not long before she passed from this world. Chapter 926, The Sacred Hand's Retirement Black Lightning, No Wounds, a Pregnancy which had lasted 13 months. Youngest Master, Youngest Master! Xiao Hong's 2 consecutive cries caused Xianxia to raise his head, shaking him from his reverie. According to his knowledge of the profound way, black lightning was something that definitely should not exist. Furthermore, according to his medical knowledge, a 13-month pregnancy was something that should not happen to humans either. Even if it did happen, the newborn child would definitely not be a normal child. But after Xiao Lingxi was born, she had always been healthy, and Xianxia did not remember her falling sick even once while they were growing up. Ah, so grandmother passed away because of this event? Xianxia muttered softly to himself as suspicion and doubt flooded his heart. Given the present heights he had reached, there should not be anything that happened in the profound sky continent that exceeded his knowledge. But if Xiao Hong's tale was true, then his knowledge could account for neither the black-colored lightning nor the Xiao Lingxi who was born after a 13-month pregnancy. Just like how he was completely mystified by the 50 kilograms of purple-veined divine crystal that was found in this place. Yes, Xiao Hong said with a light sigh of lament. However, the master did not tell anyone about this matter. After all, Madam being struck by lightning out of the blue could be construed and distorted into her being struck by the wrath of the heavens. After that, Madam died, and the master announced that her melancholy had turned into illness, and she had passed away from sadness. It is just that he never came to the place ever again after that. This was also the reason he never allowed you or the young misses to go anywhere near this place. I understand, Xianxia said with faint nod of his head. Grandpa Hong, thank you for telling me all of these things. Ho-ho, Xiao Hong let out a dry chuckle. Ever since the master has come back, his complexion has become much better and his face has been glowing. This has caused me to feel great relief, so I think it is best that you don't mention the things regarding Madam in front of the master, lest you reopen old wounds. Amen, I understand, Xianxia replied. Xiao Hong went east as he continued to search for those elusive orchids. Yun Qi remained in the same spot for a very long time. The words that Xiao Hong said tumbled through his head, but in the end, he still was not able to come up with an explanation for these events. Finally, he exhaled lightly before muttering to himself, "Whatever, it is something that happened more than 20 years ago. Who knows what exactly happened at that time? Black-colored lightning. It is extremely likely that the light had played tricks on their eyes. A 13-month pregnancy. The only possibility was that they had mistakenly thought that she was pregnant for the first 3 months." Yun Qi gave himself that final explanation and did not think on this matter any further. After all, it was something that had happened over 20 years ago, and the dead would remain buried regardless. Furthermore, Xianxia had grown up without any mishaps, so even if he continued to think about this strange affair which had happened in the past, not only would this event be nearly impossible to trace, the attempt would be completely meaningless as well. Yun Qi took out his sound transmission jade while he was flying back to floating Cloud City and found a sound transmission imprint that had been recorded years ago. "Hua Minghai, where are you now?" After he had sent the sound transmission, it had only taken a few short breaths for the sound transmission jade to buzz with the Hua Minghai's swift reply. An incredibly emotional voice rang out through the sound transmission jade. "Yun Qi, big brother, is it really you? I'm not dreaming, am I? Of course it's me. Where are you right now?" I'm somewhere to the north of Divine Phoenix City. I'm no more than 5 kilometers from the city proper." Hua Minghai's voice was still filled with deep emotion. "The northern region of Divine Phoenix City?" Yun Qi's eyes jumped as he immediately stopped in midair and sent an instant reply. "Stay right where you are. I'm going to find you immediately, and I'm going to deliver a present to you in passing as well." After he put away his sound transmission jade, Yun Qi swiftly flew back to floating Cloud City and took a certain someone off Luo Kai's hands. After that, he boarded the primordial profound arc to directly translate to the area, which was around 5 kilometers away from the northern gate of the Divine Phoenix City. Even though he had not seen Hua Minghai for a long time, his aura was still familiar to Yun Qi. He locked onto Hua Minghai's location the moment he appeared and rapidly descended from the sky, landing in front of him. Hua Minghai still had not recovered from the wave of emotions that had washed over him when he received Yun Qi's sound transmission. His hand still tightly gripped around his sound transmission jade. But after that, he saw Yun Qi suddenly appear in front of him. His hands shook and he nearly dropped the sound transmission jade that he was holding onto. After that, he spoke in an extremely emotional voice. "Big brother Yun, Xiaoya, come quickly. Hurry up and pay your respects to the man who saved us." Just like every other time Yun Qi had met him, Hua Minghai was currently disguised, and it was a double-layered disguise at that. An elegant and gentle-looking woman stood at his side. Her eyes shone with a bright and clear light, and there was no trace of weakness coming from her body. After she heard Hua Minghai's words, she hurriedly moved forward and she attempted to bow down in respect. "Ru Xiaoya greatly thanks big brother Yun Qi for saving my life." Cough. Yun Qi hurriedly raised a hand, a thread of profound energy shooting out and stopping the movements of the two people in front of him. After that, he spoke with a helpless expression on his face. "You rascal! All those years ago, you had a completely fearless attitude and swaggered about like you had the biggest cojones around, so why are you trying to act all coy and shy in front of me now?" "Ha ha ha ha." A loud and carefree guffaw escaped from Hua Minghai's mouth. "In front of other people, I am naturally unafraid. I even walked in and out of the Divine Phoenix sect tens of times, but big brother Yun is different. Right now, you are the foremost person in the entire history of this continent. Even the 4 sacred grounds are under your feet. Phew. I truly never thought that the person that I met in Divine Phoenix City all those years ago would actually turn out to be such a big shot. My loss at that time was truly well-deserved." "How can it simply just be well-deserved? It could practically be considered the thing that is most worthy of showing off in your entire life," the woman beside him said with a gentle smile. "Heh, but of course." Hua Minghai's lips were just about to curve into a smile before they suddenly froze in place, because he suddenly realized just who Yun Qi was carrying around. Even though that face did not possess the slightest trace of its usual pomp and authority, even if that person turned into ashes, Hua Minghai would still definitely recognize him. "Yi Chuan, Ji." Hua Minghai's expression turned sinister all of a sudden, an incredibly intense, baleful energy radiating from his eyes. His hands clenched into tightly balled fists, and when he shouted out that name, even the woman standing behind him started to shake as her hands tightly clutched at Hua Minghai's arm. Xianxia flung out his arm and threw Yixuanj at Hua Minghai's feet before saying, Yi Meixi is already dead, and the Sun-Moon Divine Envoys and all of the elders of Sun-Moon Divine Hall have been buried. Only this Yixuanj remains because you had said in the past that the person that you wanted to kill the most was Yixuanj. His profound strength has been crippled, so if you want him to die or suffer a fate even worse than death, that's up to you. Sun-Moon Divine Hall will soon disappear from the profound sky continent forever, so you don't need to be worried about any future consequences. Xianxia had made an extra effort to save Yixuanj, specially for Hua Minghai. This was naturally not only due to the words that he had said at the time. He was someone who definitely was not willing to leave any favors unpaid. So he used this Yixuanj as a present to return the favor Hua Minghai did for him all those years ago, when he gave Xianxia the Extreme Mirage Lightning skill. After all, Extreme Mirage Lightning had been a great help to him over the intervening years, and it had even saved his life many times. Big brother Yun, Hua Minghai raised his head. He was so overcome with emotion at this time that he did not know what to say. Yixuanj, who had collapsed to the ground, strove to raise his head so that he could see Hua Minghai. He struggled on the ground while he spoke discontentedly. Just who are you? What grievance does this old man have with you? What grievance? Hua Minghai looked down, his eyes turning incredibly dark and fierce. Old villain Yi, do you still remember the name Hua Gyuhuan? Yixuanj's face froze as he remembered that name in the next instant. You're the ghost mirage sacred hand, Hua Minghai. That's right. It is I. Hua Minghai waved a hand over his face, removing the disguise he was wearing and revealing his true appearance. For the sake of stealing the extreme mirage lightning technique, your Sun-Moon Divine Hall pursued my thief god clan for many generations. What's more, my parents died miserably at your hands, you old villain. And now the thief god clan consists of only one person. Me, Hua Minghai. All those years ago, my wife was also struck by your cold poison, and she nearly lost her life because of that. Even when I dream of tearing you into bits and pieces. And today you have finally fallen into my hands. As he yelled in fury, Hua Minghai suddenly sent a hand hurtling down, smashing his fist into Yixuanj's head. How could the crippled Yixuanj endure such a blow? His eyes rolled into the back of his head as he instantly fainted dead away. What are you going to do with him? Xianxia asked. Seeing the current Hua Minghai, it seemed like he had no intention of killing him right away. Hua Minghai fiercely stomped on Yixuanj's leg in indissoluble rage before he quickly sucked in a small breath of air and said, Just simply killing him is letting him off far too lightly. I am prepared to bring him back to my hometown and use his blood as a sacrifice to the departed souls of my father and mother. Amen. Xianxia nodded his head before producing an Overlord pellet and stretching his hand out to Hua Minghai. This is an Overlord pellet. Once your profound strength reaches the peak of the Emperor Profound Realm, it will allow you to quickly break through the bottleneck and allow you to become an Overlord. Hua Minghai's jaw dropped open. As the Ghost Mirage Sacred Hand, who had touched countless rare and valuable treasures, how could he not know just how valuable a medicinal pill that allowed one to break through the bottleneck of the Tyrant Profound Realm was? But he did not stretch out his hand to take it. Instead, he shook his head and said, Big brother Yun, you've allowed me to take my long-desired revenge, and there's no way I can repay you for that already. So how can I take such a valuable thing from you as well? Don't you worry, it is something that is very common to me. I still have more than 1,000 of these pellets in my possession, Xianxia said with a faint smile. Hua Minghai still shook his head even after hearing Xianxia's words. His arm wrapped around the woman at his side as his expression turned much more calm and serene. I think it is still better to not waste such a valuable item on me, because from today onwards, the name Ghost Mirage Sacred Hand shouldn't appear in the profound sky continent ever again. Oh, Xianxia was rather stunned by that announcement. Could it be that? Hua Minghai and the woman beside him looked at each other and smiled. My grandparents and parents were killed one after the other, and now our thief god clan only consists of one inheritor, which is myself. So only our reputation remains. The reality of the situation is that we don't even exist anymore. After all of the waves that have buffeted us over the years, I have already figured out exactly what I want. In order to gather the profound crystals I needed to sustain Xiaoya's life, I stole and plundered them from all over the place. Now, it is finally time for me to repay my debts. Furthermore, the extreme mirage lightning technique has gained its most incredible successor in its entire history, so I haven't disgraced the honor and glory of my clan either. Xianxia kept the overlord pellet and smiled as he nodded his head. That's fine as well. Regaining something that you've lost will indeed allow people to clearly see many things that were hidden from them before. Even though you are the successor of the thief god clan, perhaps a peaceful and quiet life would be more suitable for you. However, my sound transmission imprint will not change. If Big Brother Yun ever gives me a command, I will definitely answer the call, and I definitely won't even hesitate or have misgivings over it. Hua Minghai said, his words a solemn vow. It would be better if you devoted more attention to carrying on the line of your thief god clan. Xianxia said as he gave a great laugh. He waved a hand towards Hua Minghai before taking to the skies and flying far away. Big Brother Yun, I will never ever forget you. The shout that Hua Minghai had made with all of his might rang out into the air behind him. Hua Minghai's voice grew more and more distant as it was carried away by the wind. The corners of Xianxia's mouth curled up as a sedate, and happy smile appeared on his face. As the only successor of the thief god clan, he had chosen to give up the name he had always been proud of for the sake of the beloved wife he had nearly lost. Henceforth, he would retire into seclusion and live the peaceful life of a normal person. He would even continue to carry out covert acts of heroism to atone for the sins of his past crimes, perhaps, compared to living a bustling and vigorous life, and causing his name to shake the heavens. This was the most perfect way to live one's life. This was Hua Minghai's decision, and there were indeed some things that Xianxia himself needed to make a decision on soon as well. For example, after bringing Xuanyuan Wendao before Xiao Lai and allowing him to get his revenge, Xianxia could finally bring up the matter of himself and Xiao Lingxi to his grandfather. Chapter 927, World-Defying Heaven Manual. 1. After he returned to Floating Cloud City, Xianxia arrived at Xiao Lingxi's courtyard. Both the interior and exterior of the courtyard were exceptionally neat and tidy. The chair and table inside the room were completely spotless, while a faint fragrance which Xianxia was all too familiar with suffused the air. Xiao Lingxi was the person who was closest to him in both of his lives. From his childhood to his 16th year of age, they had not been separated for even a day. Furthermore, the person he owed the most to besides Chu Yuechen was Xiao Lingxi. He had protected the royal family and Blue Wind Nation for Kang Yue, avenging her father and her country, causing Blue Wind Nation to skyrocket to the top of the profound sky continent. He had forgiven the Divine Phoenix sect in the end for the sake of Feng Zuer, while helping them to completely escape the threat of destruction. He had also caused her phoenix soul to awaken quickly. He had helped the little demon empress protect the illusory demon realm and helped her complete the vengeance which had dominated her life. Kang Yue was already his wife. Feng Zuer was also engaged to him, and he had even married into the little demon empress family. In reality, the only person he had never done anything for was Xiao Lingxi. The only thing he had given her was an empty promise. Moreover, Xiao Lingxi had never asked for anything from him before either. She had never even grumbled nor complained to him. Instead, she was forever quietly standing by his side, always watching over him, worrying over him, praying for him, and feeling afraid for his sake. But now, all of the calamities had faded away, and those existences which had once been far beyond his reach were now firmly under his feet. There was no longer anything which could threaten the people around him. The knot in grandfather's heart had finally been undone, and he could finally fulfill the promise he made to Xiao Lingxi all those years ago. Even though he had already made up his mind, Xianxia still felt nervousness and anxiety lingering in his heart. In the present profound sky continent, there was basically no longer anything that could make him anxious. But before he had even brought this matter before Xiao Lai, he was already so nervous that his heart was thumping in his chest. He currently felt even more apprehension than he did when he was about to face Xuanyuan Wenshan. Xianxia sat in front of that desk, and he waited in Xiao Lingxi's chamber for a long time, but Xiao Lingxi still had not come back yet. As he waited for her, he took out the mysterious black jade that the moon-slaughtered devil sovereign had left behind, and he started rolling it around in his hand. Ever since he had obtained this mysterious black jade, Xianxia had often taken it out to try and research it, because it was simply far too mysterious. It had endured the erosion of the evil god's million-year seal along with the moon slaughter devil, but it had remained perfect and flawless. Its surface was so shiny and smooth that not even the tiniest scratch could be seen. Even though the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign's devil body had been reduced to minced meat by the sword blow Xianxia had delivered with all of his might when he had opened the rumbling heaven gate, and his remains had been burned to ashes by golden crow flames, the mysterious black jade remained completely undamaged. Every type of energy that was infused into it instantly disappeared without a trace, and even Jasmine and the golden crow soul, whose memories stretched back into antiquity, could not puzzle out what exactly this black mysterious jade was. The reason why he brought it out right now was because he had received a flash of inspiration while he was waiting for Xianxia. Since this was something that had come from the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign, and it was as black as the deep night, there was an 80 to 90% chance that it was some kind of ancient devil stone. If it had no reaction to his own power, Jasmine's power or the Golden Crow's power, perhaps it would react to darkness profound energy. Xianxia laid the mysterious black jade on the table before briefly concentrating. Immediately, a ball of pitch-black light appeared above the palm of his hand. After that, he slowly approached the mysterious black jade as he pushed the cluster of black light towards it as he tried to insert the energy. But the result was exactly the same as when he had tried the first time. The darkness profound energy which entered the mysterious black jade instantly vanished without a trace, as if it had been swallowed up by an invisible black hole. Xianxia lapsed into a momentary silence. The black light in his hand immediately swelled, but this time, he did not only use the energy found within his profound veins, he even used the primitive power of darkness that was contained within the devil origin orb. Both kinds of darkness profound energy combined, and the space around him immediately turned exceptionally dark and gloomy. The air grew cold, and the silent black light floating in the middle of Xianxia's palms seemed to become the center of the whole universe. An extremely dense darkness energy exuded from that ball of black light as Xianxia carefully touched it towards the mysterious black jade. Even though it was only a tiny ball of darkness profound energy, if the darkness profound energy within was completely released, it would be enough to swallow up the entire floating cloud city and turn it into a desolate wasteland. However, the moment this kind of power came into contact with the mysterious black jade, it instantly and completely vanished just like all the previous times. The black jade did not even slow the slightest of movements, much less get damaged. The mental energy he had buried within the darkness profound energy disappeared as well, and it was not able to sense anything. Xianxia was immediately at a loss for words. To think that even darkness profound energy would not provoke any response from it either. Just what exactly was this piece of black jade supposed to be? In discontent, Xianxia brought out the eternal night devil sword that belonged to the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign. First, he tapped the body of the sword against the mysterious black jade, but after that, he focused his profound energy and caused the sword to glow with black light before pushing it towards the black jade. The ensuing result still did not elicit any joyous reaction from him. He had tried various means to infuse energy into this object, but every single time he did, the energy had vanished without a trace. Even if you threw a clay ox into the sea, it would still cause some ripples at the very least. But the energy that entered this mysterious black jade simply disappeared without a trace. In fact, not even a single sound was made as the energy disappeared. I am still not convinced. Xianxia grabbed the eternal night devil sword as he started to focus darkness profound energy in his hand once more. But at this time, he suddenly sensed Xianxia's aura draw near. He swiftly put away the eternal night devil sword and withdrew his darkness profound energy. After that, he swept his hand around frantically, completely dispersing the darkness energy that lingered in the area so as to prevent it from harming Xianxia. After he had done all of this, Xianxia's figure appeared in the front of the room. The moment she saw Xianxia, her beautiful eyes lit up, and she spoke with a joyful smile on her face. "Little Qi, I heard from Father that you had returned. I looked all over for you and I even waited in your room for a good long hole, but to think that you had actually sneakily run over here. I had a matter to attend to, so I left for a while." Xianxia stood up and sucked in a small breath of air before he spoke in a determined voice. "Xianxia, let's go. We're going to see grandfather together." "Ah." Xianxia's serious and solemn appearance caused a look of suspicion to appear on Xianxia's face. "Didn't you just go over to grandfather's place just now? So what happened this time?" That stone in your hand is so beautiful. This is the first time I've ever seen such a fantastic and exotic light." The mysterious black jade still lay on the table as Xianxia had not withdrawn it in time. Xianxia immediately said, "This stone was something I picked up from a certain place. I just haven't been able to figure out exactly what it's supposed to." Before Xianxia could finish his sentence, he abruptly stopped talking. Lingxi just said that she saw light. He instinctively turned around and after his gaze abruptly jerked towards the object in question. He saw that the mysterious black jade he had left on the table beside him was astonishingly glowing with light at this moment. It was a strange and bizarre gray-colored light at that. Ever since he had picked up this piece of black jade, no matter what methods were used, even when it was on Jasmine's level of power, they had been unable to elicit even the slightest response from it. But at this time, it was actually releasing light on its own without any stimulus whatsoever. Furthermore, it was a strange and bizarre light that he had never seen before in his life, a gray-colored light. The color of this light did not belong to any of the elemental energies that Xianxia knew about. It only existed as a thin layer that surrounded the black jade, but it had completely covered up the deep black color of the black jade. What was even more strange was that this layer of gray light did not exude any aura at all, not even the slightest trace of it. It was right beside Xianxia, but if not for Xianxia's words, he would never have noticed its appearance. One should be well aware of the fact that Xianxia's current spiritual perception was so strong that even the dimmest flickering of a firefly's light would not be able to escape his notice if it happened within a 330-meter radius around him. So as he looked at this gray light, which had suddenly appeared out of the blue, Xianxia stood there in a shocked daze. For a moment, he had completely forgotten about the thing that he had just set his mind to do. "Little Qi," after seeing Xianxia suddenly become quiet and unresponsive, Xianxia walked over with a suspicious look on her face. As she drew nearer, the gray light radiating from the mysterious black jade suddenly pulsed. After that, it started to grow brighter and denser with each passing moment. By the time Xianxia had walked over to Xianxia's side, the light emitted from the mysterious black jade had turned from a dull and thin gray to a glaring bright silver color. Its light can still continue to change. As she saw that light change before her very eyes, Xianxia's curiosity grew even further. "Little Qi, just what exactly is this thing? Is it some kind of special profound crystal? This is the first time in my life I've ever seen something give off such a light." Xianxia did not respond, because all of his attention was entirely focused on the light that had turned from a dull gray to bright silver. There were only two ways the light given off by any energy could escape his notice if it was near to him. The first was that the level of that power was too low. The second was that level of power was too high. But no matter how low that level of power was, even if it was as insignificant as the light given off by a firefly, it was still not able to give off nearly no aura at all at such a close distance. If that was the case, could it be that the level of the laws encapsulated by this light were so high that it had reached the level that my soul would not be able to comprehend it, and my spiritual perception would not be able to sense it? But if it was truly light given by an energy that was at an extremely high level, then why was I not able to feel anything when my finger came into contact with it? Furthermore, this intense bright silver color, why did it feel so familiar? It feels as if I had seen the exact same color not too long ago. Now just where did I see it? Xianxia focused his mind as he descended into a meditative trance and swiftly went over all of the memories he had of his recent escapades. As he did this, a nearly identical silver light abruptly flashed in the depths of his mind. Beneath the cloud's end cliff, the long hair of that girl with the multicolored eyes. That was right. Her hair was this exact same bright silver color. At the bottom of that abyss of boundless darkness, her hair had shone with a near-blinding silver light that was very similar to the silver light that was right in front of him. The cogwheels in his head quickly turned. After all, that was only the color of that girl's hair. Furthermore, she was also an illusory spirit body, and even though the two colors were very similar, it was only the color that coincidentally matched. The color of a person's hair and the color emitted by a piece of primordial black jade should not have any connection whatsoever. "Little Qi, Little Qi," Xianxia called his name many times in a row, and she even waved her small and lustrous white hands in front of his face. "Little Qi, what's wrong with you? Why did you suddenly go into a daze?" Xianxia was pulled back into reality by Xianxia's shouts, and he hurriedly replied, "There's nothing wrong. It's just that this is also the first time I've ever seen this stone light up, so I was rather shocked." Just as those words left his mouth, his eyes, which were looking at Xianxia, suddenly jumped because he suddenly realized that the black jade, which had never given a single response in the past, had abruptly started to glow once Xianxia had appeared. Moreover, its glow had slowly turned from a gray color into an intense and bright silver, and that had also been while Xianxia had gotten closer to it. That isn't right. This should simply be pure coincidence. How could Lingxi have any connection or elicit any reaction from something that had belonged to the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign? Even though his heart was denying it, he was unable to dispel his suspicion. He hesitated for a moment before speaking. Lingxi, can you try something out for me? Move a few steps backwards. Ah, Lingxi's lips opened slightly. Even though she failed to understand the reason behind this, she still retreated a few steps. Like this. As Lingxi retreated, the light emitted by the mysterious black jade started to weaken. Every step Lingxi retreated caused its light to weaken proportionally as well. After she had retreated 4 steps and stood in place, the light emitted by the black jade also immediately stabilized and stopped changing. Xianxia. Chapter 928, World-Defying Heaven Manual. 2. Little Qi, what's wrong with you? You seem to be really strange today. When she saw that Xianxia had descended into a daze yet again, Lingxi could not help but become worried. She walked towards Xianxia's side before speaking softly. Is there something on your mind? Do you want to tell me about it? As Lingxi walked back to her previous position, the dull and dim light grew intense and bright once more, and it regained its previous bright silver color. This change happened in an instant, but Xianxia had seen it happen all too clearly. All of the changes that occurred to the black jade's light happened due to Lingxi. When she drew near, the light grew stronger. When she backed away, the light grew weaker. Even if Xianxia still could barely believe the conclusion that he had drawn, he had seen it with his own 2 eyes. It was clearly reacting to Lingxi. Just what was going on? He picked up the black jade, which was emitting a silver light, and brought it in front of Lingxi. After that, he spoke in the calmest voice that he could muster at the moment. Lingxi, have you seen this stone anywhere before? Ah, no, I've never seen this stone before. Lingxi shook her head with a stunned expression on her face. Why do you ask? Xianxia was the person who understood Lingxi best in the entire world. They had grown up together and they had spent nearly all their time together as well, so they knew all of each other's secrets. Even though she was once his little aunt, she was actually younger than him by an entire year. Her innate talent in the profound way was ordinary, and she did not have too much interest in cultivating in the first place. But she had always been very diligent at it. This was all to protect the Xianxia whose profound veins were still crippled at that time, and whose daily existence was filled with mocking laughter and cold gazes. But as Xianxia grew in strength, the speed of her cultivation had started to become slower, and right now, her profound strength had not even broken past the true profound realm. If Xianxia compared Lingxi to the other girls by his side, Kang Yue, Zuer, the little demon empress, Linger, and Xia Qingyu, she would not be able to compare to any of them whether it was in looks, innate talent, profound strength, or status. She was exceedingly normal. But perhaps it was because she was normal that she remained the warm and pure place that Xianxia yearned for in the depths of his heart. But why did she suddenly provoke such a bizarre reaction from this piece of black jade that came from the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign? This was something that should not have happened, something that was simply absurd. After a brief period of silence, Xianxia took Lingxi's hand. Lingxi, hold this stone. After that, try your best to sense if you feel any unique sensations. Ah, okay. From the moment she saw Xianxia until now, Lingxi had felt that his expression and gaze had been strange throughout. She stretched out her hand, carefully taking the mysterious black jade from Xianxia's hands. The instant Lingxi took the mysterious black jade, the bright silver light that was radiating from it suddenly exploded. This completely unforeseen change caused Lingxi to let out an alarmed shout, as she unwittingly threw the object in her hand aside. She lost her balance at the same time and toppled backwards in the next instant. Lingxi, Xianxia, who had also been stunned by the sudden explosion of the light that was radiating from the black jade, hurriedly rushed forward and firmly caught Lingxi, who had nearly fallen to the ground, and hugged her to his chest. Are you all right? Did you get hurt anywhere? I'm fine. Lingxi shook her head before giving an embarrassed laugh. I did not think that it would suddenly start to shine, and it gave me a big shock. Woo, this is so embarrassing. Is your hand fine? Xianxia swiftly grabbed the hand which Lingxi had used to pick up the mysterious black jade. He was deeply afraid that she had been hurt by the light which suddenly exploded. But fortunately, her hand remained as white and tender as it had always been, and there was not even a trace of it getting injured. Of course, my hand is fine. I was only truly startled by what just happened. Xianxia disengaged herself from Yun Qi's embrace and stood up. After that, she suddenly stared at Yun Qi's back as she gasped in stunned amazement. Ah, that is... Yun Qi turned around quick as lightning, but after that, he also joined Xianxia in stunned silence. The mysterious black jade that Xianxia had thrown away in shock had landed on the floor not too far from them. It was just that the silver light that had been radiating from it had now disappeared, and it had regained its usual glossy black appearance. But above it, in the space between the floor and ceiling, there now hung a large cluster of silver motes of light which was rapidly diffusing, separating and twisting. In the end, it finally formed into several hundred motes of light that were roughly the same size. The shapes of these motes were different, and they were all laid out neatly in the empty air. Yun Qi's gaze stiffened. These motes of light did not emit any sort of aura at all, and if he were to close his eyes, he would not even be able to sense their existence at all. These silver motes of light appeared to be coalescing into a bunch of characters, but at the same time, they seemed to be one character as well. However, when Yun Qi looked at them from left to right, he could not understand these words at all. He did not recognize a single one of them. The language used in the profound sky continent, illusory demon realm, and the azure cloud continent was known as world tongue. World tongue was something that had been created by the gods during the primordial era, and it was used throughout the entire primal chaos dimension. This happened because every time a creation god created a planet or a star realm, they would leave behind these words. Because of this, no matter whether it was the 3 continents of this planet or the realm of the gods where Jasmine resided, as well as all the other planets and star realms, all of them would use the exact same language and writing. Perhaps some created their own languages and words for one reason or the other, but every single one of them would still be proficient in world tongue that was used throughout the boundless universe. However, while it was clear that the things that had appeared in front of him were words, it was clear that it was not world tongue he was looking at, and even the way the characters were written were completely different from world tongue. Could it be that what he was looking at actually was not a language, but a set of special symbols? As Yun Qi's mind was deeply mired in suspicion and speculation, he suddenly heard Xianxia's soft and dreamy voice whisper several words. World-defying heaven manual. Yun Qi turned his head in stunned amazement only to discover that Xianxia was blankly staring at the motes of silver light that were floating in the air. Her gaze was completely empty, and it was as if her soul had taken leave of her body. "Lingxi, what did you just say?" Yun Qi asked in a bewildered voice. Xianxia extended her hands and slowly pointed towards the motes of silver light hanging in the air. There was a deep emptiness in her eyes, but they trembled slightly as she spoke. "These words, could it be that you understand what these words are saying?" Yun Qi's eyes widened as he spoke in an incredulous voice. Xianxia nodded her head before suddenly shaking it vigorously. Her eyes were completely vacant, but there was also a deep bewilderment and shock in them. "I don't know. I have clearly never seen these words before, but I can actually read them. I know every single word, but I clearly don't recognize. I've clearly never seen such words before. Little Qi, just what exactly is going on? Am I dreaming right now?" Xianxia's hands tightened their grip on Yun Qi's arm. It was clear that she had come into contact with something she was completely unfamiliar with, but she unexpectedly found that it was familiar to her. This surprise did not elicit any joy in her. Instead, the only thing she felt was a fear that came from the depths of her soul, a fear that she could not describe in words. "Do you really recognize these words?" Xianxia's claim had fiercely shaken Yun Qi's heart. "Amen." Xianxia nodded her head with even more vigor than before. She stretched out her hand and pointed towards the characters which were the most isolated from the rest. "The first 4 characters are spelling the words, World-Defying Heaven Manual. Furthermore, all of the words below, I can completely understand them." Yun Qi remained silent for a long time, his heart blanketed by confusion and disorder. As he looked at Xianxia, it was clear to him that today was the first time Xianxia had seen these words. Furthermore, he had grown up together with Xianxia, and he had never been aware of her learning any other language. Moreover, in the profound sky continent, it seemed like only world/realm had been used since antiquity, and there had never been records of other words or languages. Yet Xianxia could understand these words despite seeing them for the first time, just what was going on here. Then there was the reaction of the Black Jade towards Xianxia's presence. All of these bizarre happenings were things that could not be explained by any normal logic. Lingxi, there's no need to be anxious. Even though his thoughts were all tangled up, how could he allow Xianxia to continue to flounder about in this sudden fright and confusion? He hurriedly comforted her. This sort of thing is actually quite common. There are some exceedingly rare treasures which possess a strong intelligence, and they choose their own owners. If someone who is not acknowledged by them gets their hands on these treasures, they will still not be able to use them. Furthermore, these treasures will take the initiative to grant power to the one so acknowledged. This black-colored stone is also a rare and valuable treasure I obtained during my adventures. I used every method I could think of, but I was unable to get a single response out of it. But when you came in just now, it suddenly started to glow. It seems like it likes your aura, so it took the initiative to release its own power and build a soul connection which linked it to you. So that is the reason why you are suddenly able to recognize these strange words that come from it. Furthermore, you are the only one that can recognize them. Ah, is that really the case? The panic and alarm in Xianxia's eyes immediately disappeared. It was clear that she believed what Yunqi was saying. After all, at the level Yunqi was at, the amount of things he had experienced would be far greater than her. In addition to this, he was also her little Qi, so she would naturally believe him. Of course, it was not true. Yunqi helplessly groaned in his heart, but he did not speak what was on his mind. Instead, he said, "Of course it's true. There are some rare treasures which are even more ridiculous than this. When they appear, no one else will be able to see them but their masters." Xianxia patted her chest lightly before slowly breathing a sigh of relief. Ah, so it was like this. I was nearly frightened to death just now, and I even believed that I had suddenly been cursed. But my profound strength is so weak, so why would this black stone like my aura? This has nothing to do with the strength of one's profound energy. There are some rare and mysterious treasures which require great strength to conquer them. But there are also some which prefer pure and clean auras. Lingxi, it's obvious that you belong to the latter category, so this is actually really normal, Yunqi said as he spun up an explanation. Amen. Xianxia nodded her head and her beautiful eyes twinkled. Her gaze was clearly worshipful as she looked towards Yunqi. Little Qi, you really know so much. I don't even know if there is anything in this world that you don't know. The little Qi in the past caused us so much worry, but who would have thought that you would become so powerful after you grew up? It truly feels like I'm dreaming right now. Cough! Yunqi's thick skin turned slightly red, but his gaze once again swiveled towards those strange characters which were floating in the air. Lingxi, can you translate these words for me? I really want to know what they are saying. These words definitely contain the mysteries of this mysterious, profound jade, and perhaps it might even explain the connection this jade had with Xianxia and why she was able to recognize these strange words. Okay, Xianxia raised her head as her gaze swept across those characters. After that, she began to read these words formed by the silver light. Before the great explosion of the primal chaos, there was no order in heaven and earth, no difference in light and darkness. The origin power of the world was bound by the heavenly law, barren in the first era, boundless after 100 eras, and endlessly flourishing after myriads forth. The stars formed the universe, the fallen heaven formed the realms. All that was extraordinary were in the opposition, all prosperity were mere illusion. Yunqi absorbed every word that Xianxia chanted. This seemed to be an extremely cryptic scripture that was exceedingly difficult to understand. As Yunqi silently listened, he could barely understand the first few teachings. But after that, the meaning of the words suddenly changed, and it became something that seemed completely ordinary. But the moment the words Xianxia recited fell on his ears, every word fiercely impacted his heart and soul, causing his body and soul to faintly tremble. This was a strange feeling that no words could describe, or perhaps it be described as dreadful as well. Gradually, his consciousness seemed to be inexorably pulled in by something as his entire being was focused on the words Xianxia was saying. His sight, hearing, and sense of smell, all of his 5 senses had been sealed away, and the world inside his soul became a pure white. The only thing that rang out in that world was the sound of Xianxia's voice. Xianxia's voice was extremely familiar to him, but when she recited these words, it seemed like every single one of them came from the ancient primordial universe, and he could faintly feel a vast, distant, and boundless concept spread out before him. His soul could nearly feel its existence, but he was unable to even touch it, much less try to understand or comprehend it. He hazily began to realize that this was not just some normal scripture. It was actually a profound formula, but he had never seen such a profound formula before. Back in the past, even the Great Way of the Buddha, which contained the enlightened power of the heaven and earth, only took him a short while to comprehend. But these words, which seemed to be like a profound formula, caused him to very faintly sense the existence of some kind of mysterious concept, and he could also sense that every word carried the aura of antiquity. But he could not touch this concept, and he was not even able to understand any one of those words. The entire scripture was very short, and it only contained around 600 words, and as Xianxia remained in his dazed stupor, Xianxia had finished reciting it. As her gaze fell on the very last word, she mumbled, "The last word seems to be something that was not fully written. This set of strange words should not be complete, and there seems to be other portions as well." Xianxia came back to his senses, his eyes regaining their focus, but his mind was still a vast sea of whiteness. Chapter 929. The best conclusion given Xianxia's current mental strength, even if it were 60,000 words. He would only need to look at it once or hear it read once for him to remember it in near perfect clarity, much less a mere 600 words. But after listening to the words that Xianxia had recited, his mind was completely blank, and he was stunned to find that he could not even remember a single one of those words that sounded like some sort of scripture or profound formula. Furthermore, he also had a faint feeling that his consciousness had been drifting away. After that, he closed his eyes and focused, and he immediately felt those strange words slowly appearing inside his mind. These words started to grow clearer with each passing moment, but after he opened his eyes again, he realized that he had completely forgotten them again. "Lingxi, can you understand the meaning behind these strange words?" Xianxia asked as he attempted to probe further. Xianxia shook her head. "I can read these words, but I don't know what they mean at all. Little Qi, even you do not understand the meaning behind these words." Right at this moment, the silver motes of light in the air suddenly flickered and all the bizarre text distorted within the silver motes. Then they once more converged to become a ball of silver light before flying back into the mysterious black jade, completely disappearing henceforth. The mysterious black jade also returned to its formerly silent state. Even if Xianxia was right by its side, it no longer radiated light. Xianxia reached out and sucked the mysterious black jade into his palm. Then he directly placed it in the sky poison pearl, no longer allowing it to have any contact with Xianxia. "Little Qi, what exactly is that piece of rock?" Xianxia was unable to suppress the curiosity in her heart. "I'm not sure. I picked it up in a strange place." Xianxia replied with an extremely casual tone of voice before directly changing the subject. "It's probably a soul stone that had been used to write down ancient text. Forget it, let's not bother with it. Let's go see grandfather." After he finished speaking, he immediately pulled at Xianxia's hand, and the two headed toward Xiaoli's courtyard. Xiaoyanghan had already fallen asleep, and Xiaoyun and his wife had gone to offer sacrifices to his late parents. Xiaohong had not come back yet, and only Xiaoli remained in the courtyard. Once they had arrived at Xiaoli's courtyard, Xianxia unconsciously tried to wriggle her hand out of Xianxia's grasp. But to her surprise, Xianxia gripped her hand even tighter, and as she was panicking, he grasped her hand and arrived in front of Xiaoli. "Grandfather, I have something to discuss with you." Even though he had long ago gathered up enough courage and determination, when Xianxia came face to face with Xiaoli's calm demeanor, his heart tightened with anxiety. Xianxia seemed to faintly realize something as she gave a soft gasp, her heart starting to beat wildly in her chest. "Hee, Chair, you've come at just the right time. I was just about to find you to discuss an important matter with you." Xiaoli looked at the both of them and smiled merrily as he said those words. Xianxia was taken aback by those words, but he immediately asked, "Important matter? What important matter?" "It is something concerning Linger," Xiaoli said as he gave Xianxia a deep look. It seemed as if he had not noticed that the two of them were holding hands as he gave a gentle sigh. "Linger is already 23 years of age this year, so she has long ago reached the age where her family should be considering her marriage. Chair, you've already been married for 8 years, but Linger has always been burdened by my presence. She has constantly been by my side taking care of me. As a result, we have never been able to settle the question of her marriage. but right now, both my body and my mind are completely fine. Yuner and his wife are in a loving relationship, and Yongan is an obedient and healthy child. So the only thing that worries me the most right now is Linger's marriage. Grandfather, what do you mean by that? Chair. Xiao Lai looked straight into Yun Qi's eyes as he spoke in a warm voice. You're very well-traveled and experienced, so you definitely know many outstanding young men. If any of them are suitable for Linger, see if you can play the matchmaker for them. I will definitely have no worries about the person that you choose. Grandfather, This was not the first time that Xiao Lai had mentioned such a thing to her. But this time, he had said it in front of Yun Qi. His words threw Xiao Lingxi's heart into great disarray, and she was left at her wit's end. Yun Qi's gaze shifted before finally hardening up and becoming firm. After that, he spoke in an extremely sincere manner. Grandfather, actually I have found one such person long ago. Oh, Xiao Lai's gaze rippled. Yun Qi abruptly knelt down in front of Xiao Lai as he looked deep into his eyes. After that, he spoke in a loud and clear voice. Each word that proceeded from his mouth sounded like the clang of small metal gongs. Grandfather, that person is none other than I. I beg for Grandfather to betroth Lingxi to me. Little Qi. The voice that sounded in Xiao Lingxi's ears was undoubtedly the one that made her tremble the most in her life. He had actually said it in front of her, and in front of Xiao Lai. He had said the words that she had desired to hear the most, but they were also the words that were so taboo to her that she did not even dare touch them. Xiao Lingxi also started to slowly sink to her knees. Her eyes misted over as she spoke in a soft voice. Grandfather, if it isn't little Qi, I would rather never get married at all in this lifetime. She also said similar words in front of Xiao Lai. She declared them loud and clear, and the moment the words left her mouth, all of the fear and worry that clouded her heart had soundlessly disappeared, and they were instead replaced with a warmth and tranquility she had never felt before in her life. The moment she had said those words, it seemed like the result of their request was no longer so important anymore. Because she had finally said the words that had been lying at the bottom of heart and soul, so her entire spirit felt as if it had suddenly reached a whole new level and become completely different from before. Xiao Lai's expression was not colored by the shock, daze, disappointment, or fury that they had expected. In fact, Xiao Lai did not even react intensely in any way. Instead, he seemed completely calm. After that, he simply turned his back towards them and let out a soft and sad sigh. Grandfather, Yun Qi raised his head. Ho ho, Xiao Lai laughed, and this laugh was extremely gentle. You two have finally expressed your true feelings after enduring for so many years. Shock appeared in Yun Qi's eyes. Grandfather, does this mean you have always? I am the one who saw you two grow up. You have always been especially close since childhood and were positively inseparable. Since you left Floating Cloud City at 16, Zier has always been by my side. I've seen her worry about you every day and miss you from morning to night. This kind of emotion far exceeds the boundaries of familial love. From then on, even though I didn't know how you felt for Zier, I knew that what Zier felt for you was definitely not familial love, but love at its root. And this love had been completely released once she knew that you were not blood-related. This was why I was deeply worried. I was not worried about your previous aunt and nephew relationship, but that Zier's love was one-sided, which would cause her to be miserable for her entire life. Xiao Lai slightly raised his head and closed his eyes. If Yun Qi and Xiao Lingxi were able to see his expression right now, they would see that he had revealed a faint smile. The two was startled in place. Xiao Lingxi asked in disbelief, Father, you really do not mind it at all? Xiao Lai lightly shook his head and smiled. You two are around the same age and are not even blood-related at all. Moreover, both of you are my dearly beloved children. Hearing what you two have said today leaves me delighted beyond belief. How could I possibly have a problem with it? Even though I am old-fashioned, I was never inflexible. Then, when you've been constantly talking to me about marriage lately, that was because I cannot help but worry. Xiao Lai sighed lightly. I was well aware of your feelings for Chair, but Chair, the height which he has reached is much too high. Out of the women by his side, they are either the empress of a nation, the empress of a realm, or a phoenix goddess. Compared to them, you are as common as sand. Even though Chair still treasured you like he did in the past, I was deeply worried that he would not feel the sort of love a man would have for a woman for you with those wondrous women by his side, causing your love to be an empty one-sided infatuation. As a result, I was just probing. Ho ho, The determination, along with the nervous expression Chair had when he knelt down earlier, made me realize that the worry I had all these years were irrelevant, and what I was the most concerned about has finally become perfect. Father! Xianxia covered her lips with her hand as tears slowly dripped from the corners of her eyes. Don't worry, grandfather. Yunqi took a deep breath and suppressed his excitement. I will take care of Lingxi for life. Ho, if it's you, I can completely be at ease about Zier's future. Only, Xianxia sighed lightly. Even though you two are not blood-related at all, the world is full of stupidity and gossip can be quite malicious. If you two wish to get married one day, it's best to do so in illusory demon realm. All right. Yunqi immediately agreed without hesitation. He looked at Xianxia as Xianxia also secretly looked at him. When their gazes made contact, they both smiled at the same time. They had always thought that Xianxia was what made them suppress their own feelings, but it was only today that they realized that the biggest hindrance had always been themselves. Yunqi was originally prepared for the worst, but he never thought that such a perfect, almost somewhat too good to be true conclusion had come out of today. The obstruction that he and Xianxia had never dared to touch had suddenly vanished just like that. Illusory Demon Realm, Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley. The aura of the flames were yet again distinctively weaker than before. Once Yunqi arrived at the end of Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley, the Golden Crow Soul's image also appeared within a splattering of golden light. Yunqi, why have you come again this time? Yunqi raised his head and directly asked, Golden Crow Soul, have you ever heard of the name World-Defying Heaven Manual? World-Defying Heaven Manual. The Golden Crow's soul snorted heavily. This noble one has never heard of that. It seems to be some kind of a profound art just from hearing its name. HMPH, to dare use world-defying in its name, what audacity. Even you have not heard of this before? Yunqi was stunned. After being disappointed, he mumbled, Then that's too weird. What exactly do these words record? You seem to have a lot on your mind. Where exactly have you heard of the name World-Defying Heaven Manual anyways? The Golden Crow Soul asked. No, I didn't exactly hear about it. Yunqi took out the mysterious black jade. It came from this. Then he recounted what had happened to the Golden Crow Soul. From the strange reaction the mysterious black jade had with Xianxia to the bizarre scripture that had appeared afterwards. Something like that happened? After hearing Yunqi's account, the Golden Crow Soul revealed shock that exceeded his expectations. Write out the text for this noble one. All right. Yunqi closed his eyes and concentrated. After quite a while, those strange, distorted characters appeared in his mind. He extended a finger to draw the first four of the strange characters in the sky using Golden Crow flames, which represented the words, World-Defying Heaven Manual. After several tens of breaths, Yunqi finally depicted the four odd characters into flames that floated in the air. The Golden Crow Soul's golden eyes shined on it before it quickly retracted its light. Golden Crow Soul, could it be that you also do not recognize these words? Yunqi asked with knitted brows. Never seen and never heard, replied the Golden Crow Soul. Then, why would Lingxi recognize it? I can vouch that she had never seen this kind of text before. She also doesn't know why she would recognize these words and was even greatly shocked by it. Yunqi tightened his grip on the black jade. Could it be that what I said to comfort her was true? That this black jade just happens to like her aura, which happened to incite a reaction from it? That it was actively trying to establish some kind of soul connection with her without any warning, which suddenly caused her to recognize these words? The Xianxia you speak of, what cultivation realm is she at? And what kind of profound art does she cultivate? The Golden Crown Soul asked solemnly. This, Yunqi was somewhat embarrassed. Lingxi doesn't understand the profound way much. She is only at the 7th level of the true profound realm. As for profound art, she cultivates the eagle arts which comes from the Xiao clan born in. It is a low-level profound art. The Golden Crow Soul grew silent, then said faintly, Leave this place and bring her before this noble one. Chapter 930, Visiting the Phoenix Clan? Yes. Yunqi promised, then he turned around and was ready to leave. But before he had taken a step, he suddenly stayed in place and then turned around once again to face the Golden Crow Soul. I changed my mind. Yunqi took a small breath and his expression suddenly looked a lot more relaxed. I have decided not to investigate this anymore. Oh. The Golden Crow Soul looked slightly surprised, and then it understood. HMPH, it seems like you're afraid that this would affect that woman named Xianxia. Yes. Yunqi nodded and admitted. Linksy, she isn't someone who has cultivated the profound way. She doesn't have any aspirations or desire for power and position. Her world is simple and pure. Even though I am extremely curious of this black jade and the world-defying heaven manual within it, if the price is to involve her, then I should just pretend that they never existed. Xianxia flipped his palms and threw the mysterious black jade into Sky Poison Pearl. From now on, I will not take this black jade out anymore. Who cares what it is, just let it be silent forever. If this is your choice, so be it. At your current plane, you are an unparalleled existence. There is indeed no reason to forcefully seek for something unless you wish to go to the realm of the gods. You seem to really want me to go to the god realms. Xianxia lifted his head and said, "Ha ha ha ha." The golden crow's soul laughed loudly. Of course. You inherited this noble one's last origin blood and soul origin, and you even have evil god's inheritance. The overly thin elements and turbid atmosphere in this world will only restrict you from growing. It will also let your talent, as well as the bloodline that this noble one has bestowed you, go to waste. This noble one yearns to see how strong a freak, like you will become once you head to the god realms. Unfortunately, even if you really went to the god realms, this noble one would not be able to see it. I really want to go as well. I want to see Jasmine again, or else it would be my life's regret. Xianxia's hands slowly bunched into fists as he spoke. After I leave, I need to start training. Within 5 years, I have to go to the realm of the gods no matter what. Not because of his curiosity for the realm of the gods, and not because he sought for stronger power, only because he wanted to see Jasmine. The time of Jasmine's departure grew more distant by the day, but that feeling hadn't faded away as time passed. It had instead become stronger than the previous. Very good, the golden crow's soul praised. Within 5 years. If it were someone else, this noble one would never believe it. But maybe there really is a possibility for that to happen. However, this noble one is destined to not be able to see that day. Xianxia's eyes moved, swept his eyes around, and said worriedly, "The time left for your existence. You said that you found a way to cure Xianxia's fatal condition last time. Is that true?" The golden crow soul interrupted him with a sudden question. Xianxia nodded. "Yes, and I believe that this method will definitely succeed. It's just that we still need to wait for a few more months. All of the power that Kei received from you before will also disappear then." The golden crow's soul was silent for a long time, and then it said in a low voice, "If it really works, bring her before this noble one. This noble one has something for her." After everything settled, Xiao Lai and Xiao Linksy stayed in Floating Cloud City. As for the Xiao young couple, they traveled between Floating Cloud City and Demon Imperial City all day long, having the time of their lives. Kang Yue took control of the Blue Wind Imperial family once again, and Blue Wind Nation's prestige flourished by the day as it became invincibly strong. Su Linger concentrated on studying medicine under Yun Gu. She had a high comprehension level, and her medical skills improved at a tremendous speed. She was obsessed with the art of healing. Her biggest wish was to hope that she could help Xianxia and not only enjoy his protection. Xia Yuanba stayed in Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and was trying his best to get used to his position as Saint Emperor. His tyrannical emperor's divine veins and his relationship with Xianxia let him sit on the throne stably, even though his age and profound strength were far from being sufficient. As for Xia Qingyu, there was still no news of her at all. Xianxia had been relaxed and unrestrained for a long time, and his desire to see Jasmine again grew stronger as the days passed. He finally was able to settle down and begin to focus on his training. He was determined to break the boundary of sovereign profound realm within 5 years, reach the legendary divine way, and be able to travel to the realm of the gods where Jasmine resided. The best place to cultivate was unquestionably the snow region of extreme ice. It was vast and quiet there, and the ancient cold could freeze all distractions. Before that, Xianxia took Feng Zuer to a place that he promised he would take her many years ago. The continuous mountain range ahead from us is the 10,000 Beast Mountain Range. Xianxia and Feng Zuer traveled with the wind. Within their sight, a region with dark mountain range approached quickly. Even though it was named Mountain Range, the hills weren't too tall, and it was only 100 or so kilometers from its north to south. Even though 10,000 Beast Mountain Range is very small, because of the Phoenix's aura at the center, a great amount of profound beasts gather here. This is also where the name 10,000 Beast Mountain Range came from, Xianxia explained to Feng Zuer. Back then, when Kang Yue and him were being chased by Xiao Ze of Xiao Sect's branch sect, they were forced to fall down the 10,000 Beast Mountain Range. At the time, 10,000 Beast Mountain Range was an extremely dangerous place to them. But now, even if all of the profound beasts there attacked them all at once, it was impossible for that to threaten them in the slightest. Even though there are a great number of profound beasts in 10,000 Beast Mountain Range, their levels are usually very low. The highest is Earth Profound Beast. There could also possibly be a few Sky Profound Beasts. But with the level of profound energy in Blue Wind Nation, this is an extremely dangerous place. Adding to the fact that the profound beasts here usually appeared in groups, there are almost no profound practitioners in all of Blue Wind Nation who would dare to venture within. Big Brother Yun, the curse that you mentioned before, is it really that scary? Feng Zuer asked. Yun-Chi nodded his head slightly. The phoenix soul here is different from the ancestral phoenix god of your divine phoenix sect. It has a very upright and outspoken character. Many years ago, an ancestor of the Phoenix clan accidentally burned and destroyed a village with phoenix flames. Under the anger of the phoenix soul, an extremely cruel curse was buried in their phoenix bloodline, and this kind of curse would be passed down to their offspring, making generations of the Phoenix clan be unable to break through the elementary profound realm. For survival, they could only forever hide in a place like this where no one else could get near. They are finally free of it in this generation, though I don't know what has happened to them now. Why did one person's mistake have to be atoned for by generations of the whole clan? Those poor people, Feng Zuer said softly. When I see them, I will pass Royal Father's sincerity to them. If they are willing to combine with Divine Phoenix Sect, we will definitely welcome them. If they are not willing, we will also provide as much help as possible. Let's meet them first. I don't know if they will remember me. After all, it's been so many years, Yun-Chi said nostalgically. This place was the first huge turning point in his life, and it was also the place where he received his first drop of divine blood. Big Brother Yun was their life savior, and you removed the cursed bloodline that they've carried for all those years. How could they have forgotten Big Brother Yun? Feng Zuer smiled and said, soon enough, they finally arrived above the 10,000 Beast Mountain Range. Referring back to the location in his memory, Yun-Chi brought Feng Zuer and kept flying until they'd reached the center of 10,000 Beast Mountain Range, the place where Kang Yue and him fell down back then. But when they just begun to get close to the region close to the center, they sensed an unusual aura from afar. Yun-Chi immediately slowed down, and Feng Zuer exclaimed, "What a strong phoenix aura! Let's take a look down there." The two of them landed from the sky. From their location to the central region of 10,000 Beast Mountain Range, which was also where the Phoenix clan was hidden, was only a short 15 kilometers. However, right ahead of them existed an enormous, shapeless barrier, and a strong phoenix aura was being released from this invisible barrier. This barrier covered the central region of 10,000 Beast Mountain Range, shrouding an entire 30 kilometers of area inside of it. Yun-Chi touched the barrier in front of him with his hand. As he expected, his palm was able to pass through it very easily. This barrier didn't obstruct him in any way. That instant when his palm touched it, he was absolutely sure that this was a one-way isolation barrier. Only those who possessed the Phoenix bloodline could go through it as they willed. Those without the Phoenix bloodline could only exit and not enter. Big Brother Yun, has there always been a barrier here? Feng Zuer asked. No, Yun-Chi shook his head. Only those with the Phoenix bloodline can enter this barrier. If it existed before, then your big sister Kang Yue and I wouldn't have been able to go through it. To be able to form such an enormous isolation barrier, this must be the doing of the Phoenix soul here. Thinking back, after it removed the cursed bloodline, it felt that the punishment that lasted generations was too cruel. It built this barrier so that they don't have to worry about suffering a disaster like the one back then, and they can grow peacefully under the protection of this barrier until they are strong enough to be able to leave here freely. Yun-Chi pulled back his arm, turned around and said, Zuer, let's leave. Amen. Feng Zuer did not hesitate as she nodded in agreement. Even though I feel some regret, they suffered so many years before finally getting the peace and the protection of the Phoenix god. It's really not suitable for us to disturb them. Yun-Chi smiled. Now that their bloodline is no longer cursed, they must have been training with all their strength. A few years later, when they are strong enough, this barrier will disappear. We will come back here when that happens. Okay. The existence of this Phoenix barrier made the two of them give up on visiting the Phoenix clan within. They floated high up into the sky and were about to leave, until right at this moment when a small, tender silhouette of a young girl ran out from within the barrier. Behind her was a slightly thin boy who followed her in a rush. This pair of youths looked only about 15 or 16. The girl had bright eyes, white teeth, and was dressed in red. The immature girl's tender face had already revealed a stunning beauty. Her slender brows curled as she smiled. She was like a red butterfly that had been released from a barrier and issued a sweet, ethereal laughter from time to time. The boy behind her was similar in age. Even their looks were alike. Different from the girl's jumping joy, his face was filled with panic, and he was out of breath from chasing behind. Xianxia, no. You can't leave the barrier, it's too dangerous. Come back now, father and mother would scold us. Hee, it's all right. It's not as dangerous outside as described by father and mother. Last time when I snuck out, that weird-looking big monster wasn't even that strong. The girl laughed and said without caring. No, Xianxia, stop, it really is dangerous. Even though the boy chased with all his strength, the girl ran really fast. He wasn't able to catch up at all, and they were soon a few kilometers away from the barrier. Yunqi and Zuer, who were about to fly away, stopped. Seeing the youths who suddenly appeared within their sight, he hesitated briefly and then called out softly, Xianxia. Big brother Yun still recognizes them. Feng Zuer smiled and asked. They are the twin children of clan leader Feng Beichuan. Back then when I first saw them, they were only 8 years old. In the blink of an eye, they have already grown this much, Yunqi said rather emotionally as his eyes followed their movements. In 8 years of time, of the two brave and innocent children back then, one was now slim and graceful while the other was already 6 feet tall. It was only after seeing their transformation that Yunqi clearly felt the passage of time for the very first time. In a short span of 8 years, their profound strength grew from the elementary profound realm into the earth profound realm. They truly have astonishing innate talent. Half of that is because of their phoenix bloodline, while the other half should be because they had been working hard all this time, Yunqi stated with joy. Feng Xian'er's profound strength was at the 2nd level of the earth profound realm, and Feng Zuer was unbelievably at the 4th level of the earth profound realm. Their cultivation levels completely surpassed Ling Yun, number 1 of Blue Wind's profound cultivating realm's young generation back then, when he was at that age. At this rate, they should be able to break through to the sky profound realm before the age of 20. Chapter 931. The first step towards the god realm Feng Xian'er finally stopped as she arrived somewhere at the end of a valley. She opened her arms, closed her eyes, and began to enjoy the gentle mountain breeze with fascination. The air out here is so comfortable. I would sleep out here nicely for a long time if it wasn't for the consequence of father and mother's punishment. Even though Feng Zuer's profound strength was 2 small stages higher than Feng Xian'er, his speed was evidently slower. He chased behind Feng Xian'er and said while panting, Xian'er, we're already this far out. It's really too dangerous. What if a large group of profound beasts charge towards us? I'm not afraid. I've snuck out many times and I've never run into a profound beast that I couldn't beat, even if I can't beat it. My speed is now even faster than Big Brother's. They cannot catch me. Feng Xian'er smiled sweetly, while her beautiful eyes flickered like the starry night. I really want to see the outside world. Really want to see Big Brother Savior again. I wonder how he is now. Could he be married to Big Sister Zuruo already and have many children? Feng Zuer pulled on Feng Xian'er's sleeves as he looked around alertly. He said anxiously, Father and Mother said that we must reach the sky profound realm before going out to the outside world. Even if you want to play outside, we should go back to somewhere near the barrier. That way, if there's danger, we can retreat back into the barrier immediately. Big Brother is so cowardly. Feng Xian'er curled her lips and said unwillingly, if Big Brother Savior found out about it, he would definitely laugh at you. This is not a matter of being cowardly or not. Feng Zuer became more and more anxious because they were at least a few kilometers away from the barrier. If they were really in danger, they wouldn't be able to make it back. Is the Big Brother Savior that they're mentioning Big Brother Yun? Feng Zuer smiled. Looks like not only did they not forget about Big Brother Yun, they've kept you in their mind all this time. They carried the weight and the punishment of their cursed bloodline since birth and endured it even though it wasn't theirs to suffer. They lived their lives carefully and they've never left this place. Naturally, they wouldn't be contaminated by the world's ugliness. Their hearts are kind and pure. When they go out into the world, they will definitely become a strong, upright sect in Blue Wind Nation. A smile appeared on Yunqi's face. He was filled with great expectations for their future, and he felt even more convinced that this was not the time to visit them. Zuer, let's go. Wait! Yunqi suddenly turned around and mumbled, "Oh no." From the valley ahead, they suddenly heard an irritated beast roar. It sounded extremely close by and was accompanied by fast, approaching footsteps. This sound, Feng Zer's expression changed. "Oh no, Xianer, run!" On the contrary, not only did Feng Xianer not reveal fear when hearing the roar of the beast, she seemed a bit excited. "Big brother, don't be so surprised. It is very normal to run into a profound beast here. All right, let's show the profound beast Xianer's strength." "But what if that profound beast's really strong? Ah!" amidst Feng Zer's scream. A giant wolf appeared within their sight. This wolf was 3 meters tall even when all its limbs were on the ground. It had blue-gray hair, blood-stained eyes, and its whole body released a berserk fiendish aura and a pressure that made their bodies tense up. This sudden suppression finally caused Feng Xianer's face to grow pale. Even though she didn't have a lot of battle experience, she at least knew that being able to cause a suppression like this meant that the profound beast must be something that she couldn't handle. In panic, she couldn't finish the attack posture that she had begun posturing for and was stunned in place. Not able to move at all, "Xianer, dodge!" Feng Xier yelled as he charged forward. He knocked Feng Xianer away and crossed his hand. His body ignited with scarlet phoenix flames. A tongue of flame struck towards the giant blue-gray wolf that was charging towards them. "Take my meteor flames!" Feng Xier had the phoenix bloodline, so the flames he had were naturally phoenix flames. But the power of flames that he released simply couldn't compare to the phoenix flames channeled with the world ode of the phoenix. When the giant blue-gray wolf saw the flames, its eyes became even more irascible. It scratched its claws forward, and a windstorm swept a ball of sand and dirt towards Feng Xier. Chinese letter, bang, Feng Zer's flames were quickly dispersed by the windstorm, yet the windstorm still hadn't lost all of its power. It swept forward and threw Feng Xier out harshly. His back was slammed against a mountain rock and he groaned in pain. "Big brother!" cried the frightened Feng Xianer as she rushed forward without regards for her own life. Feng Zer's whole body was in unbearable pain. He yelled in shock. "Don't come over here!" At around the same time he yelled, the giant blue-gray wolf suddenly changed its target and charged towards Feng Xianer, who was closer. "Xianer?" Feng Xier was shocked. He disregarded the pain in his body and rushed towards the giant blue-gray wolf with his fastest speed. A thick streak of phoenix flames swung at the beast's rear. This streak of phoenix flames was swung out under fear and panic, so its strength was even weaker than before. However, when the phoenix flames hit the giant blue-gray wolf, the beast screamed as its body suddenly became stiff and rolled onto the ground. After a few twitches, it stopped moving. Feng Zer's footsteps stopped. He looked at his hands and stood stunned for a moment before pain struck through his whole body. His legs went limp and he fell on the ground, trying to catch his breath. "Big brother!" Feng Xianer rushed over while still shuddering. There were drops of tears on her face and she asked in a weeping tone, "Are you all right? Did you get hurt?" "Ooh, it's all my fault. It's all because I was so stubborn. Ooh, I'm fine, don't worry, HSSS." Even though he said he was all right, he grimaced in pain. The clothing on his chest had been torn, revealing a dozen cuts from the windstorm. There was a lot of blood, but fortunately the cuts weren't deep enough to reach his bones. You're still saying that you're fine, but you lost so much blood." "Ooh," Feng Xianer's eyes were filled with tears as she started crying again out of guilt. "I really am okay. This small wound. It doesn't hurt at all." Feng Xier gritted his teeth and tried really hard to stand up and pretend like it was nothing. "But Xianer, in the future you can't leave the barrier like that again." "Amen." Feng Xianer nodded immediately and said with her eyes full of tears, I won't dare to do it anymore. I was too stubborn. Does it really not hurt?" "HMPH, I'm going to become a man like Big Brother Savior. This wound is nothing." Feng Xier lifted his chest hard and said, "All right, let's quickly get back." "Amen." This time, Feng Xianer followed Feng Xier, who had been wounded for her, with extreme obedience. "Don't worry. I won't tell father and mother about today. The wound on my body will just say that I accidentally crashed into a rock while training." "Thank you, Big Brother." Feng Xianer sniffed and revealed worship in her eyes. "But I didn't expect Big Brother to be this strong already. A profound beast that big, you defeated it so quickly." Feng Xier looked at his own palms and scratched his head, feeling quite torn. "I didn't expect it either. The profound beast's strength was at least above 5th level of the Earth Profound Realm. Maybe my flames coincidentally hit his weak spot just now. That should be it." They are such close siblings. Feng Xier pulled back her small hands. Looks like we didn't come here for nothing today. The consequences could have been unimaginable. Xianxia smiled and shook his head, watching the siblings who quickly went back in the barrier. He reached out his hands. From his left hand, two soul fragments fell down and easily invaded Feng Zhe and Feng Zion's souls. His right hand soundlessly pushed a jade box containing 30 overlord pellets into the edge of the barrier before them. Let's go! After taking one last look at Feng Zhe and Feng Zion, Xianxia held Feng Zhe's hand and flew far away, instantly disappearing from the horizon. Feng Zhe and Feng Zion's footsteps stopped. Both of their eyes became misty and then became conscious again at the same time. The two of them looked at each other and they both had a dull look on their faces. Zioner. There seems to be some things added into my mind, Feng Zhe said blankly with his face filled with shock and doubt. Me too. Feng Zion's was stunned, she said in a low voice. World Ode of the Phoenix. Let's go tell father and mother. Feng Zhe was as if he had just woken up from a dream and he said hurriedly. Yes. Feng Zion nodded her head immediately. The two of them sped up immediately. When they got close to the barrier, Feng Zhe tripped over the jade box that Xianxia left them. What is this? Feng Zion picked up this never-seen-before jade box. What a beautiful box, but this wasn't here before. Let's show it to father and mother. Let's go quickly. This will definitely shock the entire clan, Feng Zhe said in a very anxious tone. The World Ode of the Phoenix was the thing that the Phoenix clan desired even in their dreams, but it remained an extravagant hope for them. Because the Phoenix soul here only possessed the 5th and 6th stages of the World Ode of the Phoenix. They couldn't ignore the rules and forcefully train themselves like Xianxia, because even with their Phoenix bloodline, they could only cultivate regular fire attribute profound arts. But now the complete 1st to 6th stages of the World Ode of the Phoenix appeared in Feng Zhe and Feng Zion's minds at the same time. The Phoenix clan that had just recently broken out of their curse not too long ago truly greeted their new life starting from this day. After leaving the 10,000 Beast mountain range, Xianxia and Feng Zhe came to the snow region of extreme ice. The new frozen cloud Asgard was beginning to take shape, and the ancestors' bodies had all been found. As they expected, those bodies were all unharmed, and this was, without a doubt, a great comfort to frozen cloud Asgard. At the end of the snow region of extreme ice, Xianxia and Feng Zhe faced each other in the sky. He took a small breath and closed all of the evil god's gates. The profound strength of his body instantly weakened greatly. He summoned the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword. Even though he gripped it firmly in his hands, his arms were incredibly heavy, and even simply lifting, it was a bit difficult. The biggest reason he was able to release a power much stronger than his own profound energy level was because of his evil god arts. From evil soul to burning heart, then purgatory to rumbling heaven. His strength was no longer increasing quantitatively when the more evil god gates he opened. It increased qualitatively. With his cultivation and body right now, he could already use burning heart as his normal state without pressure, and he wasn't far from using purgatory as his normal state. Now that he had shut off burning heart and evil soul and was not using evil god arts at all, his profound energy was only at the first level of the sovereign profound realm. The first step of his training was to use this default form and forcibly fight Feng Zhe. Use 30% of your strength for now and see if I can take it, Xianxia said as he grabbed his heaven-smiting devil slayer sword. Brows furrowed. His goal was to be an equal match for Feng Zhe in his normal form within 3 years, but that was against today's Feng Zhe. 3 years from now, Feng Zhe's strength would also have grown tremendously. Okay, big brother Yun, be careful. Feng Zhe's hands danced slightly. A few dozen phoenixes in flames danced around her body amidst their long cries before striking toward Xianxia all at once. Xianxia slashed his sword, causing flames to explode above in the air of the snow region of extreme ice as the phoenix cries shook the sky. Within the caved space, Xianxia flipped backwards, but then stiffly returned right away. Not only did his sword aura not weaken, it became even stronger, taking 30% of Feng Zhe's strength in his normal state. Without using the evil god arts was indeed too far-fetched, but this kind of training that could push him to his limit was exactly what he wanted. Boom, 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 boom. The cry of a phoenix and the might of the sword turned the surrounding 50 kilometers into a land of disaster. But with the barrier that Feng Zhe had set up, it would not affect the snow region of extreme ice at all. and it was on this day that Xianxia officially took the first step toward his hope of reaching the God realm. The last two plot holes in the profound sky continent are buried. The blue pole star chapters end here. Friendly reminder. A lot of people are guessing that Chu Yuechen is with the Phoenix clan at the center of the 10,000 Beast mountain range. The reason that Jasmine didn't notice it was because the Phoenix barrier blocked her mind search. Even though I enjoy seeing people making the wrong guesses, I can't help but say, too naive. A tiny Phoenix barrier can be an obstacle to a big boss like Jasmine who's at Divine Master Realm. Chapter 932, The Goddess Who Fell from the Sky. 6 months passed in a flash. After Xianxia Wenchen had been annihilated, both the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm eased into tranquility. All citizens of the profound sky continent had long since known that the current hegemon was no longer any of the sacred grounds but Xianxia, the person publicly accepted as the foremost person in all of history, possessing the identities of both the Blue Wind Imperial family's Prince Consort and Frozen Cloud Asgard's Asgard Master. He caused Blue Wind Nation and Frozen Cloud Asgard to become the most supreme existences of the current era, their positions in power suppressing that of the two remaining sacred grounds, Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace. The head of the continent's 7 nations had naturally also changed from Divine Phoenix Nation to Blue Wind Nation. It was also under this kind of circumstance that Blue Wind Nation vastly improved and quickly rose in power, while Frozen Cloud Asgard had become the holy land to all of the continent's profound practitioners. Very rarely would anyone set foot into the snow region of extreme ice, but now even fewer dared to approach it. Within this 6-month period, Frozen Cloud Asgard's reconstruction was already complete. The average strength of the current generation of Frozen Cloud disciples had surpassed the last by a great realm, so the rate of efficiency in freezing naturally multiplied, causing the newly constructed Frozen Cloud Asgard to shockingly be double the size of its former self. It was just that the interior had become much simpler. Places like the Frozen End Divine Hall were fated to be unreconstructible. However, the Frozen Cloud Wintry Spring had been reborn from an underground cold vein within these 6 months. To the north of the snow region of extreme ice, explosions loud enough to shake the world transmitted over, even though they were separated by a phoenix barrier. With the heaven-smiting Devil Slayer sword in hand, Xianxia was currently in a fierce battle against Feng Zuer, and today's match had already lasted for a full 6 hours without any stops in between. Boom! A phoenix arrow jolted the heaven-smiting Devil Slayer sword away and directly smashed onto Xianxia's chest, causing Xianxia to fly out like a cannonball. His back violently collided with the phoenix barrier, and he didn't get up for a good while, and the heaven-smiting Devil Slayer sword also disappeared within his grasp. Phew, let's stop here for today. After saying that, he powerlessly collapsed on the ground. Big brother Yun, you really do progress very fast. I almost used 70% of my strength today, Feng Zuer stated happily when she landed. Hee, of course. After all, I just broke through yesterday. As expected, each breakthrough within the sovereign profound realm is totally different from all the previous realms. Xianxia replied as he closed his eyes. Even with his dragon god physique, using a heavy sword to fight a 6-hour-long battle caused him almost reach his limits. Xianxia cultivated for 8 hours every day during these 6 months. His innate talent was already abnormally high in the first place, and with such a perfect opponent as Feng Zuer, his profound strength had consecutively risen by 4 small realms. These were 4 small realms within the sovereign profound realm. Going from the first level of the sovereign profound realm to the 5th level in half a year was a pace so fast that it was absolutely enough to be written in the annals of the profound sky. Even the Phoenix Soul awakened Feng Zuer, and the tyrannical emperor's divine veins awakened Xia Yuanba had never achieved such a terrifying degree of progress. His normal state of being, which totally did not utilize the evil god arts, was able to match 70% of Feng Zuer's power. If he were to battle against Xianxia Wenchen now, he had complete confidence that he could win in the purgatory state, without opening rumbling heaven or using darkness profound energy. Along with his growth, Feng Zuer's Phoenix God powers had also awakened a step further. She had broken through a bottleneck that no one else on the profound sky continent had ever broken through, inching her closer to the legendary divine way. At this time, Xianxia's frozen cloud celestial soul flashed as the cold and clear voice of a girl resounded in Xianxia's mind. Asgard Master, Divine Phoenix Sex Feng Henkang has come to pay a visit. Xianxia sat up on the ground, then said to Feng Zuer, Zuer, your royal father is here. It seems like he wasn't able to withstand not seeing you for 2 months and came to pay a visit. Ah, then let's go back to Frozen Cloud Asgard. I also miss royal father and the others. I wonder how the construction of the new Phoenix City has fared. Xianxia smiled. You head back first. I just thought of something right now and I need some time to think it through. Feng Zuer thought Xianxia suddenly comprehended something, so she immediately nodded. Amen, I got it. Good luck, big brother Yun. Feng Zuer left, but she did not remove the Phoenix barrier. Snow fluttered down from the sky but was kept outside by the barrier. As Xianxia sat on the ground, his gaze unceasingly flickered, as thought he was struggling with something. A good while later, he still ended up taking a huge pitch-black sword from the sky poison pearl. The Eternal Night Devil Sword. The sword soul in the Eternal Night Devil Sword had long since died out. Aside from a faint emission of depression on the sword's body, it no longer held any might, and seemed to have become a completely dead sword. However, Xianxia had constantly been smashing it with the heaven-smiting Devil Slayer sword during this entire period, yet it still had yet to receive any scars. A dead sword without a sword soul or spirit, with its power completely depleted, was still unable to be destroyed by the heaven-smiting Devil Slayer sword. This was still, after all, a genuine primordial devil sword. Just the quality of its material alone was something incomprehensible by those in the profound sky continent. Xianxia placed his right hand on the sword's body. As his consciousness entered the sword, the completely profound formula of a profound art projected into his mind. The illusory devil tome of eternal night. In this period of time, he had always been struggling with himself about whether he should cultivate the terrifying illusory devil tome of eternal night that Fen Juchen and the devilized Xianxia Wenshin had used. There was no need to doubt its power. However, it was a devil profound art which used darkness profound energy. Xianxia's strongest state at the moment was precisely when he released the profound energy in the devil origin orb. The devil origin orb had merged into his profound veins, yet it was still its own independent entity. Xianxia was able to transform the profound energy in the evil god's profound veins into the elements of water, fire, lightning, and darkness at will. However, the power within the devil origin orb could only be darkness profound energy. At the very least, Xianxia still was not able to change its attribute. Furthermore, the devil origin orb continuously grew by itself. Even if he didn't cultivate it, the devil origin orb would still silently strengthen, becoming an even greater power like the dragon god bloodline he possessed. It grew denser by the day without him doing anything. His most powerful state was when he utilized darkness profound energy, so if he added this darkness profound art on top of that. In fact, during this period of time, Xianxia had examined the illusory devil tome of eternal night inside the eternal devil's sword many times already, so much that it was deeply imprinted within his mind already. Even if he wanted to forget it, he would be unable to. However, he still had not started cultivating it because it was still the power of the devil path that went against the right path, and Jasmine had also clearly expressed her disgust for darkness profound energy. Even though power was power and there was no right or wrong, a distinctive distortion did appear in the personalities of Fen Juchen and Xianxia Wenshin, who had cultivated the illusory devil tome of eternal night. He was afraid that his own personality would warp uncontrollably if he were to cultivate it. The primary reason, though, was still his rejection of devils deep in his heart. Moreover, he still warned himself many times to never use darkness profound energy in front of outsiders. Even when he was up against Xianxia Wenshin back then, he had still released the devil origin orb's power after deliberately luring him down to the ocean depths. Since that was the case, why should he cultivate such a terrifying darkness profound art? Master, what are you doing? Right when Xianxia was repeatedly mulling over this issue, the spirited sound of a young girl's voice suddenly rang beside his ear. Xianxia turned around and saw that Honger had actually run over to him by herself God knew when, happily smiling at the eternal night devil sword in his hands. Honger, what you come out for? Xianxia subconsciously asked, then suddenly noticed her line of sight, because I suddenly smelled something really good. Honger's tender face lit up with a smile as her eyes blinked with vermilion light. You aren't about to? SWOSH. Before Xianxia's voice had finished falling, a beam of red light suddenly flashed by his eyes. His hand immediately felt lighter and the eternal night devil sword had vanished without a trace. Furthermore, Hunger had already crossed from his left to his right. She was hugging the eternal night devil sword, which was much bigger than her own body, and her eyes were twinkling with excitement as a large glob of saliva fell from her mouth and splashed onto the body of the sword. Hunger, why? Xianxia's eyes had widened fully, and he rushed over anxiously and as if his butt had been set on fire. He yelled in a loud voice, "You're not allowed to eat that! UW!" As she saw Xianxia, who clearly looked like he wanted to snatch her food away, rush over, she let out a yell of alarm and quickly scampered away. Xianxia rushed through the air as he increased his speed to the maximum and chased after Hunger. "That is a devil sword. Don't eat it. You're not allowed to eat it." "I wanna eat it. It clearly looks very delicious." As she saw Xianxia rushing towards her, Hunger hugged the eternal night devil sword in her arms and yelled. Her speed also abruptly increased several times, and she practically blurred into a streak of red light, instantly leaving him far behind. From the very first day that he had met Hunger, Xianxia had been shocked by her speed, and he was not able to catch up no matter what. But the Xianxia of today and the Xianxia of that time were practically worlds apart. His brows furrowed as opened purgatory and activated extreme mirage lightning, causing his speed to instantly accelerate to the point where he seemed to split space apart, leaving afterimages of light in his wake, but the Hunger in his sights gradually grew further and further away. Then even further and further away. Her speed was actually even faster than the fastest speed he could muster. Furthermore, she was even running around with the eternal night devil sword that weighed several hundred times her own body weight. Number percent. Xianxia was struck completely dumb by this sight. The wildly sprinting Hunger had already left Xianxia in the dust. She raised up the eternal night devil sword and opened her mouth wide. After that, her small crystalline teeth bit down on the body of the pitch-black blade. Crack! A huge mouth-shaped gap appeared in the body of the eternal night devil sword. The eternal night devil sword actually suffered the same fate as all the swords that Hunger had eaten before as she took a bite out of it. This was a primordial devil sword that came from the ancient era. A primordial devil sword that belonged to one of the kings of devilkind, and it had not been broken even after enduring the evil god's seal, which lasted 1,000,000 years. It was a primordial devil sword that not even his heaven-smiting devil slayer sword had managed to make a dent in. It actually broke like a fragile biscuit underneath the might of Hunger's teeth. Wah! It's so delicious. How could the deliciousness of a primordial devil sword be compared with other normal swords? As Hunger bit down on it, her eyes immediately sparkled like twinkling stars. She stuffed the eternal night devil sword into her cheeks as she sprinted all over the place, gulping it down with incredibly shocking speed. No matter whether it was her running speed or her eating speed, both were so fast that they had reached the level where it shocked the heavens and the earth and scare all the supernatural beings away. Xianxia had already stopped, his mouth gaping wider than a hippo's. Crunch, 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 crunch. As loud crunching sounds continued to ring through the air, the eternal night devil sword swiftly vanished into Hunger's mouth. In the short span of slightly over 10 breaths, only its pitch-black hilt was left. Hunger made a big circle in the snow as she rolled about. After that, she ran back, her skirts swishing in the wind. She stood in front of Xianxia, her cheeks puffed out proudly. She continued to chew on her meal with unbridled ecstasy as she mumbled in a muffled voice. "This is really delicious. I've nearly finished eating it, so there will be nothing I can do even if you pester me about it. HMPH, so Master was hiding something so delicious all along." Xianxia gaped at Hunger, his mouth continuing to hang wide open, refusing to close. The very first day he had met her, she had eaten dragon fault, and he had been incredibly shocked at that time. But after that, he quickly grew used to it, and no matter what sword she ate, he did not find it the least bit strange. But the eternal night devil sword was a primordial devil sword. It was a sword from the era of the gods and devils, but it was actually eaten up by Hunger in just 2 or 3 bites. Only its pitiful sword hilt was left. Pa! Hunger casually threw away the hilt of the sword. Her vermilion eyes faintly narrowed as she patted her little belly with a look of absolute satisfaction and joy on her face. I'm so full now, Hem? That's weird. I suddenly feel very uncomfortable. Master, I've already eaten till I'm full, so it's about time for me to obediently go back to sleep now. Hunger gave a huge yawn, and a streak of black light which she did not notice flashed in the depths of her eyes. After that, she ignored Xianxia and morphed back into a streak of red light and flew into the sky poison pearl. She rushed into the little bed that she had seized from Jasmine and swiftly fell asleep. Xianxia stretched out a hand and pressed it against his forehead before he could finally come back to his senses. Hunger, this little rascal, just what kind of monster was she? Oh, right. Hunger had just eaten the eternal night devil sword. Would the heaven-smiting devil sword change in any noticeable way because of that? With a single thought, Xianxia directly summoned out the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword. He did not care if Hunger had just sunk into deep sleep as he swiftly thrust his hands outwards. The huge vermilion sword appeared high in the air as Xianxia extended his hands to grab the hilt of the sword. But just as he was about to lift it up, he felt as if both of his arms were suddenly bearing the weight of a gigantic mountain as they abruptly plunged downwards. B-O-O-O-M-M-M. The heaven-smiting devil slayer fiercely smashed into the ground below Xianxia's feet. The phoenix barrier that surrounded him instantly collapsed as the entire snow region of extreme ice shook violently. Xianxia firmly grasped the hilt of his sword. All of the veins on his arms bulged against his skin, and even his face had gone entirely green. Chapter 933. The Goddess Who Fell from the Sky, 2. Xianxia's whole body stretched taut as he gritted his teeth tightly. He had to use all of his strength to keep his body from sinking and not dropping his heaven-smiting devil slayer sword. This weight, Xianxia exhaled abruptly, and then amidst a sudden muffled sound, his lower body completely sunk into the ground. However, he didn't lift the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword up at all. Every time Hunger consumed a sword, the sword force, weight, and power of the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword would grow accordingly. So far, Hunger had already eaten 5 Tyrant Profound Swords, 27 Emperor Profound Swords, and a few hundred Sky Profound Swords along with many different kinds of Profound Crystals. There were already very few Sky Profound Swords and Emperor Profound Swords in the Profound Sky Continent and the illusory Demon Realm. Tyrant Profound Swords were even more rare and precious. 5 Tyrant Profound Swords and 27 Emperor Profound Swords. These 2 numbers were enough to pale the faces of sacred ground-level Profound practitioners. Hunger used a short few years of time to stomach nearly half of the top-grade Profound Swords in the 2 continents. This was what created the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword that fought Xianxia Cultivation. When Hunger ate the eternal night devil sword, the change in the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword actually surpassed all of its previous growth. Xianxia had already poured all of his strength into his arms, but he still wasn't able to lift it. At the moment, it was difficult to just grab onto the hilt and not let fall. And because of this, the heaven-smiting sword of today had to at least be a frightening 5 million kilograms. Ha! Xianxia opened his purgatory gate, and his profound energy instantly grew. He roared deeply, and then was finally able to raise the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword. His entire body flew into the air, and he swung his sword forward. Boom! This sword strike was an incredibly plain swing, one without any profound arts or profound skills, but at that instant, a sword force that made even Xianxia gasp in shock fell upon him. 5 kilometers of space in front of the tip of the sword immediately collapsed. The ground was churned high up into the sky and then completely disappeared in the collapsed void. Xianxia's whole body was stunned in place. The power of this sword made him stare blankly, and he couldn't recover from the surprise. He didn't even dare to brandish it a second time. Merely a casual strike caused such might and power. If he used all of his power to attack, even if Xianxia Cultivation was shrouded within, he would lose at least half of his life before such a terrifying sword force. It was just that an incomparably large consumption of power was accompanied by this might. Even though he only swung the sword once, it made Xianxia's arms slightly numb. On top of that, even though he was still in the state of purgatory, the terrifying weight still lingered on his arms. Even if he was in his best state, he would probably be out of strength if he swung the sword a few dozen times in a row. The eternal night devil sword, it was, after all, a primordial devil sword. A sword that was at the level of devils. Even though it was now a dead sword, the energy that it converted after Hunger had eaten it was still far beyond the swords in the plane of the profound sky continent. The consequence of Hunger eating the eternal night devil sword was turning the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword into a completely different sword. This kind of might was obviously completely out of the category of sovereign profound artifacts, and was not something that a plane like the profound sky continent could judge. Hunger was sound asleep in the jewel on the handle of the sword. The shocking movement just now didn't wake her. Xianxia put away the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword. He reached out to swipe the cold sweat on his forehead before finally taking a deep, long breath. It looks like it will take a really long time for me to get used to its weight and force again, Xianxia said to himself. At the same time, he also thought that if one day he could control the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword in its current state freely in his normal form, then he ought to be ready to truly step into the divine way. After a fierce battle with Feng Zuer and that sword just now, Xianxia's profound energy was heavily depleted. He sat on the floor to rest for a good while, then stood up and directly walked slowly back to Frozen Cloud Asgard. Frozen Cloud Asgard was quiet and deserted as always. After all these years of difficult times, Frozen Cloud Asgard finally welcomed its new birth. Half a year later, when everything had completely calmed down, they would also start to begin preparing to take in new disciples. High above the skies beyond anyone's perception, a pair of icy eyes that were like a quiet spring was silently watching the newly born Frozen Cloud Asgard amidst the snow. She was dressed in white clothes that resembled snow. Her whole body was shrouded in dreamy mist, and her face could not clearly be seen. Only a glimpse of a silhouette that was ethereal like a fairy but also graceful like a phantom could be caught by the eye. A blue-clothed girl with an exquisite figure was next to her. The girl looked like she was only 18 or 19 years old. Her eyes were like ice crystals, her face resembled the first snow, and what surrounded her were floating ice spirits even more transparent than the world's purest crystals. She wrapped her hands around the white-clothed female's arms as though she was holding on to her carefully. "Master, the appearance of Frozen Cloud Asgard seems to be completely different from before. Did this disciple remember wrongly?" The blue-clothed girl was also looking at the Frozen Cloud Asgard below them as she asked in confusion. "No," the white-clothed female whispered. "Not only Frozen Cloud Asgard, the aura of the elements here has also gone through a great change, cough, cough. Looks like Frozen Cloud Asgard had gone through an even greater disaster afterwards and was completely destroyed. Then after that it had been reborn, cough, cough, cough." The voice of the white-clothed female was very soft, and it faintly revealed her frailty. There were many painful coughs in between her few words. Enshrouded by mist, the paleness from the sickness seeped through her snowy face. The blue-clothed girl said softly, "Over these years, this disciple has accompanied Master here 3 times, and we see a completely different Frozen Cloud Asgard each. Looks like Frozen Cloud Asgard had always suffered setbacks during all these years. The worst is over. This time, not only are they reborn, there are big changes in the aura of many of the disciples. The Frozen Cloud Asgard from now will only become more prosperous. Cough, all of this is thanks to the new Asgard Master. No wonder the previous Asgard mistress would be willing to break the tradition and pass the position to a man," the white-clothed woman said slowly. Every time she coughed, her aura weakened a little bit more. "Yes, compared to last time, their aura is a lot stronger. Master can also finally have peace of mind. Frozen Cloud Asgard is really lucky to be kept in Master's mind." The blue-clothed girl turned her cheek. "Master, we have already seen a result better than the one predicted. Can we return now? The aura in this world is too contaminated. If we stay here for too long, it will worsen your condition." Cough, cough. The white-clothed female covered her mouth, and when her fingers left her lips, there was a slight stain of red blood on the center of her palms. She clutched her snowy hands and covered the bloodstains. Looking below to the edgeless snow region, she said softly, "Xianxia, stay with me here a little bit longer this time." "Ah!" The blue-clothed girl looked at her with surprise. The white-clothed female's gaze slightly dimmed and blurred like mist. "After looking back at my entire lifetime's rise and fall, it was actually here, where I had lost my memory and my divine power, that I was the most happy and at peace. In the years since I've returned to the Snow Song realm, this damaged life of mine once more struggled on death's door for a millennium, and there was not one day when I was genuinely happy. All these years, Ice Phoenix Palace used countless precious treasures to forcefully lengthen the life of a person bound for death. I understand that they are still respectful toward me, but that is only because of Big Sister. I know everything what they think and say behind my back." The white-clothed female closed her icy eyelids. "Before leaving this time, I have already left my last words to Big Sister. My time is up. I will choose where I want most to be my last resting place. Do not look for me. And here might just be most suitable as my last resting place." "Maz Tur," the blue-clothed girl didn't cry or yell because of these words. Her eyes filled with tears as she lowered her head and started sobbing. She knew, everyone knew, that it was already a great miracle that she had made it till today. At this moment, their bodies were close together, and she was able to clearly feel how withered her life force was. "He's here," the white-clothed female said softly. Her eyes were crystal clear with no emotions, because she was already indifferent to life and death. Xianxia approached on foot from the north and was finally back to the main entrance of frozen cloud Asgard. In front of him, Sulinger suddenly stuck her head out and smiled playfully at him. "Big brother Xianxia, you're finally back. Come quick, I brought you something delicious." "Pastries?" Sniffing the smell that was in his nose, Xianxia's eyes brightened as he walked quickly next to Sulinger. The two of them leaned against an ice wall and sat on the fluffy snow. Sulinger used her slender hands to feed Xianxia one by one, smiled and watched him, swallowed them one after another. The profound formation that connected the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm was right in front of frozen cloud Asgard. During the day when Xianxia was at frozen cloud Asgard, Sulinger and the others would also often follow him. Watching Xianxia finishing the last pastry, she used her finger to gently wipe the corner of Xianxia's mouth and asked, "Big brother Xianxia, has little demon Empress Sis still not agreed to the treatment?" "Phew!" Xianxia took a deep breath and said in low spirits, "Not only did she not agree to it, I proposed it to her twice this time. The first time she scolded me, and the second time she almost beat me up. I thought about her personality a long time ago. It must be difficult for her to accept this weird kind of treatment, so I allowed you to live at the Demon Imperial Palace a few months earlier, but the result was still the same. Yeah, with someone noble and proud like little demon Empress Sis, it is a bit difficult to make her accept it. Even I was surprised at first." Sulinger held up her cheeks with her hands and looked like she was trying hard to think. "Linger, you seem to not oppose it." Xianxia moved his face close to Sulinger's ears and said while laughing mischievously, "Do you not feel embarrassed at all?" "I'm all right," Sulinger giggled. Her cheeks were still a bit flushed. "If it was someone else, even though a medical practitioner's heavenly law is to save lives, I might really not be able to do it. But little demon Empress Sis is not the same. She is big brother Xianxia's woman. After all," Sulinger's voice became softer, "I have served big brother Xianxia with little demon Empress Sis that many times. Why is she still so determined to refuse? Does she not like me? Of course not. Now in all of Demon Imperial City, who doesn't like Linger? With her personality, if she accepted easily, I would instead feel strange about it. Sai, what should I do? MN, what if Zuer and I knock her out together and then, that doesn't seem to work? Then how about this?" Sulinger seemed to have thought of something, and her beautiful eyes suddenly lit up slightly. "Let me go convince little demon Empress Sis myself." "Ah, you're going?" Xianxia was stunned. "Heh," Sulinger smiled mysteriously. "I think regarding to this matter, it would probably be better if I say it face to face to little demon Empress Sis. Even though normally little demon Empress Sis is most obedient to big brother Xianxia, about this, it is uncertain. I will go now." Sulinger stood up and then ran over to the teleportation formation. "Big brother Xianxia, come back early before the sky gets dark. There might be good news." Xianxia's mouth opened a little, reached out to scratch his nose, and said to himself, "Will this really be all right?" Chapter 934, The Goddess Who Fell from the Sky, 3. Xianxia rose. Just as he was about to return to frozen cloud Asgard, his footsteps suddenly halted as he looked at the sky with furrowed brows. The sky above the snow region of extreme ice was a stretch of whiteness without any hint of color. He immediately lowered his head and muttered to himself, "Did I sense wrongly?" He had a faint feeling that he was being watched from up above just a moment ago, and it was more than one pair of eyes. "Ah," up in the far reaches of the sky, a blue-clothed girl exclaimed in shock. "Could he have sensed us just now? No, no, no. How could he possibly have sensed our auras?" A hint of shock flashed through the eyes of the white-clothed female as she said softly, "His cultivation level has actually advanced this fast. 5th level of the Sovereign Profound Realm, that's really fast." The blue-clothed girl was even more surprised. "He was only at the Emperor Profound Realm when we last came here." "Master, this disciple remembers that you once said that the highest cultivation realm reached in this world was the Sovereign Profound Realm. Even if it were someone with the highest innate talent here, they would still need to cultivate for several hundred years, or even more to order to attain such a realm, and the shortest time possible would still require tens of years. Why has he suddenly reached this realm when not even 2 years have passed? Could he not be the same person we saw last time?" The white-clothed female was silent for a long time. Once he opened the ice gate, the exquisite figure of a beauty bounced over. Feng Hanyu, who had just made a breakthrough, was so elated that she resembled a snow sprite. When she saw Yun-Chi, her eyes lit up as she yelled, "Asgard Master, have you seen Hangsu?" "Oh, it's Senior Sister Hanyu. Aren't you always stuck together with Senior Sister Hangsu every day? Why have you suddenly lost her today?" Yun-Chi asked with a beaming smile. "It's Junior Master, Junior Master." Feng Hanyu quietly uttered a protest that she had not used for a long time. Then her tone of voice instantly became more chipper. "Because in these 2 days that I've been in closed-door training, I've successfully made a breakthrough. This way, I'm higher than Hangsu by another level now, heh. "Oh," Yun-Chi exclaimed, "Senior Sister Hanyu is so amazing. You've actually already reached the 4th level of the Tyrant Profound Realm. You're about to catch up to Senior Master Yueli." Feng Hanyu radiated even brighter when she received Yun-Chi's praise. "HMPH, that's only natural. I can't possibly lose to my senior sisters. But then again, all this is due to Asgard Master's contribution. If not for Asgard Master, it probably would have been hard for me to even become a throne. It's obviously due to Senior Sister Hanyu's high innate talent. I only helped a little," Yun-Chi replied modestly. As he inched closer to Feng Hanyu with a lewd smile, he stealthily extended his demonic claws. "Since Senior Sister Hanyu's profound strength has progressed this fast, let me see if your chest has become even bigger." "No," Feng Hanyu pouted with disdain. Just as she was about to run away, her soft jade body had already been embraced by Yun-Chi. She panicked, then hung her head and said timidly, "Asgard Master is so bad, but you can only touch a little." "All right, only a little." Yun-Chi's hands came up from her waist and directly grabbed her silky breasts. Even though they were separated by a layer of snow robes, he secretly used some force and his fingers sank deeply into a mass of smooth and delicate pastry. As a small moan spilled from her nervous lips, instead of leaving her breasts, those demonic hands willfully grabbed and kneaded them into all sorts of charming shapes. "Asgard Master, you promised to only touch a little Feng Hanyu said with a startled cry. Her beautiful face gradually became a deeper shade of pink as her eyes began to glaze over. "Right, only a little. My hands haven't left yet, so it still is considered touching only a little," Yun-Chi explained with incomparable seriousness, as his wicked hands willfully violated the forbidden area of the pure girl who resembled a snow lotus. In the distant skies, the blue-clothed girl let out a startled cry as her cheeks instantly flushed red. WHWHWH, what is he doing? HHH, he's actually bullying that girl. He's a bad person. Vulgar, shameless, T2 hateful. As the blue-clothed girl cursed, she quickly turned around and covered her eyes with her hands. The white-clothed female's crescent brows knitted, and she also turned her face away, but her voice was still as cold as before. "All of the experts in the world are fascinated by the profound way, so much so that they are even willing to curb their desires just for a chance at greatness. But he who acts without restraint, without the slightest control or suppression of his desires, actually could advance to such a realm. Master, that isn't the most important point. He's obviously just a lowly person. This kind of person, how can he be Frozen Cloud Asgard's Asgard Master?" The blue-clothed girl vigorously shook her head. Her impression of Yun-Chi fell astronomically. Yun-Chi instantly went from a good person who had saved Frozen Cloud Asgard to a despicable, shameless, lowly person. Before Frozen Cloud Asgard's northern gates, Feng Hanyu's entire body completely laid atop Yun-Chi's chest as she incessantly moaned while lacking the power to resist. "Cough, Asgard Master." Murong Kangsu's clear and cold voice came from Yun-Chi's rear. Like lightning, Yun-Chi's hands moved away from Feng Hanyu's body and landed behind him. He turned around with a grave, dignified face which exuded calm and projected the mighty presence of an Asgard Master. "Oh, it's Senior Master Murong. What is the matter?" If this wasn't the first time Murong Kangsu accidentally came across his perfectly smooth conversion in these series of movements, along with the change in expression, she certainly would believe herself to be seeing things. She replied without any change in expression. "Asgard Master, Yaoyu and Lingsu have broken through to the Emperor Profound Realm. Aside from Kinyu, they are the first disciples of this generation to successfully become thrones. In order for them to stabilize their foundation, we'll have to trouble Asgard Master to help temper their bodies in the frozen cloud wintry spring." "Oh, I understand." Yun-Chi revealed praise as he smiled and nodded his head. "Then let's start that in 2 hours so they have time to prepare themselves." "Yes, Asgard Master." Murong Kangsu glanced at Feng Hanyu and said, "Hanyu, Hangsu was just looking for you." She ought to still be in the new snow-congealing hall right now. I'll go look for her immediately. Feng Hanyu hurriedly ran off. The instant she passed by Murong Kaiengsu's side, Murong Kaiengsu's glared at her with a half-indignant, half-helpless expression. As for Feng Hanyu, she secretly stuck her tongue out at her. Temper bodies? In the skies above, the blue-clothed girl who buried her face in her hands had heard everything from below. Like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, she let out a startled cry and stammered. Tempering bodies requires the entire HHE. Why would they let a man like him help them temper their bodies? As expected, he really is a hateful, shameless, lowly person. Frozen Cloud Asgard is full of women. He's going to bully all of them. Master's Frozen Cloud Asgard, how can? Master, do you want this disciple to down there and beat him up? He's too repulsive. The blue-clothed girl was nearly driven mad. This was the first time she had seen such a shameless, vulgar scene which sullied her eyes and toppled her 3 views. This was even more hateful than those people from the flame god realm. The white-clothed female let out a faint sigh. It was unknown what she was sighing about. She slowly turned around and then said softly, "Xiaolan, let's go." Go. The blue-clothed girl was stunned. This place, I can finally stop worrying about it now. The white-clothed female closed her eyes. As for the last place, I wish to have a look at the cold star realm again. Master. The blue-clothed girl's limpid eyes suffused with mist once more. She only gently nodded. The dimensional jade ought to have enough power to go to the cold star realm once. This disciple will immediately head there with Master. The blue-clothed girl shifted to the side, as though she did not have the heart to give the white-clothed female's deathly pale complexion another glance. When she extended both hands, a jade-colored round stone slowly appeared. She closed her eyes and a mysterious power silently circulated. The round stone immediately released a dim radiance as a bizarre profound formation slowly spread it out. Cough, cough, cough. The white-clothed female let out painful coughs as her jade hands pressed at her chest. At the same time, scarlet blood instantly gushed from the corner of her mouth, dyeing the chest area of her snowy clothes. It was this smear of blood which caused the last faint color on her face to disappear, leaving barely any color behind. The light in her icy eyes quickly dulled as her body, which had been enshrouded by icy mist, violently swayed. Then, after losing the power to stay afloat, she fell. Master! The sound of something falling behind her made the blue-clothed girl turn around, then pale with fright. She wanted to pounce forward to retrieve her master, but the dimensional jade in front of her had just opened halfway and forcibly pulled her into place. The blue-clothed girl was as impatient as fire as she acted in a flurry. It was only after several breaths later, when the dimensional jade's power withdrew, that she charged straight down with an alarmed cry. And at this point, the white-clothed female had already dropped quite far. Just as Xianxia stepped into Frozen Cloud Asgard, he suddenly sensed an abnormal aura rapidly approaching from the far reaches of the sky. He promptly raised his head and astonishingly saw a snowy figure straight above him that blended in with the snow-filled sky, falling rapidly. Even though it was still far away with Xianxia's eyesight, he instantly recognized that it was clearly a woman's silhouette. Moreover, the aura of her strength and life force were distinctively weak beyond compare. What was going on? This was the snow region of extreme ice. How could there be someone falling down from the sky above the snow region of extreme ice? Even though he questioned that in his mind, Xianxia still flew up in the very first moment and dashed over, firmly catching the snowy silhouette that had been in mid-fall. As the ice-cold, flower-like soft body of a woman fell into his embrace, a pale face entered his eyes, leaving him dazzled. The woman in his embrace seemed to be a fairy of peerless beauty who had come from the peak of an ice mountain. Her snowy flesh shone with the luster of ice and seemed to glow with an almost transparent jade light. Though her complexion was incredibly pale and the pain in her face had yet to dissolve, her beauty was still one that even the best painting in the world would find hard to portray. The eyes beneath her slightly knitted slender brows were closed and her full snow-white lips were slightly opened. She had already completely lost consciousness. Xianxia blankly looked at her for a good while before his face abruptly changed. Poison. There was an acute poison in her body, and this toxin had completely infiltrated her life vein, profound veins, bone marrow, and even her soul body. Master! The terribly panicked voice of a girl quickly approached from above Xianxia. Before he had yet to raise his head, a blue figure had already landed before him like a stream of light. Why, you lowly person, hurry up and release my master. Chapter 935. Mu Xiaolan, the speed of the figure before him was fast to the point where it shocked him. Yun Qi blanked for a moment when he saw that what appeared before him was actually a girl not more than 20 dressed in luxurious blue clothes. At his current height of attainment, he was well aware of every peak expert in the profound sky continent or the illusory demon realm. As for the girl before his eyes, the speed with which she arrived previously was enough to shock him, and even her profound strength aura was something he found unfathomable. At the very least, it had to be higher than the 5th level of the sovereign profound realm. With such an age paired with such a cultivation level, her name ought to shake the world, yet he had actually never seen her before. Who are you? Yun Qi furrowed his brows. You hurry up and release my master. The blue-clothed girl was so anxious that she nearly started crying. She had just personally witnessed the evil deeds of the man before her, and now the esteemed master she respected the most was actually locked within this evil man's embrace. This was a tremendous profanity that was simply unacceptable, simply unforgivable. Master! Yun Qi lowered his to look at the white-clothed female with closed eyes who had lost consciousness. Instead of loosening his grasp, he tightened his embrace. Answer me first, who are you? Why you? Yun Qi's action caused the blue-clothed girl to turn pale. She took a fierce step forward, but then immediately retrieved it. Her master was in Yun Qi's embrace, weak to the point of having lost consciousness and had no power to resist anything. Even if she was even more anxious and hated him so much that her teeth went numb, she still wouldn't dare to act without thinking. Why you? Hurry up and let my master go, or else I won't be polite. I'm warning you right now, I'm really strong. The blue-clothed girl's continuous shouts had long since alarmed the entire frozen cloud Asgard. Celestial figures danced behind him as Feng Zuer, Murong Xianxia and the rest all rapidly flew over, landing behind Yun Qi. Asgard Master, what has happened? Murong Xianxia glanced at the blue-clothed girl before them, then looked at the white-clothed female in Yun Qi's embrace who had an incredibly weak aura. Her crescent brows raised. Who are they? Big brother Yun. She seems... Feng Zuer detected the unusual condition of the white-clothed female in Yun Qi's arms. Her life force was already weak to the point where she could possibly lose her life. She's been poisoned, and it's an extremely terrifying poison at that, Yun Qi said in a low voice. The dreadful poison that the white-clothed female was infected with was one he had never seen before. Even though it fell short of Jasmine's absolute god-slaying poison, its terror definitely still surpassed all the poison Yun Qi had seen in this world. What was even more terrifying was that the poison she had been infected with had spread throughout her entire body, infiltrating every corner of it. It had even completely fused with her life force and profound strength. It was obvious that she had been poisoned a long time ago. At this point in time, it was already too late. Even if this poison's antidote were to be found, or if one used a strong enough profound energy to disperse the poison, there was no hope in saving her life. Unless it was the sky poison pearl. When he muttered that, Yun Qi's left hand had already begun to silently gather the power of the rage god. At present, he had to forcefully replenish her life force. Even if he directly purified the toxin, it would only quicken her death. The blue-clothed girl became panicked even more after alarming this many people. She frantically shouted, You all give me back my master, or else I really will. Asgard Master, who are they? Why would they appear here? Mulanni asked. The current frozen cloud Asgard was already different from the past. No one would enter the snow region of extreme ice without thought. I don't know. Yun Qi shook his head. He held the white-clothed female in one hand as he gently pressed his left hand, which was condensed with the power of the rage god, onto her chest. The rich power of heaven and earth immediately rushed into her life vein, along with a bit of the sky poison pearl's purifying power. If he wanted to save her life, he had to help stabilize her vitality before cleansing her life vein little by little with the sky poison pearl. Yun Qi's action caused the blue-clothed girl to yell in surprise. Why, you lowly man? Get you filthy hands off my master's body. Little miss. Murong Xianxia took a step forward with an indignant expression on her face. We can put the matter of you trespassing on our snow region of extreme ice for now, but if you dare be this respectful to our Asgard master, don't blame us for not being polite. HMPH. The blue-clothed girl was both anxious and angry. She pointed at Feng Hanyu, who was beside Murong Xianxia, and stated, Am I wrong? He's obviously just a lowly person. Just before, I personally saw him touching her breasts. Poo poo poo, that was unbearably vulgar, frozen cloud girls. Ah, big sister, Asgard Master was bullying you again? Feng Hangsu said in shock. Stop talking. Feng Hanyu covered her face with her hands. Big brother Yun, you... Cough, cough, cough. Even if Yun Chi's skin was as thick as a city's wall, being exposed in front of everyone was something he couldn't withstand. With a solemn face, he slowly stated, "The consequences of your words will be very serious." As he said that, Yun Chi used slightly more force on the hand that had been pressing on the white-clothed female's chest. Along with the pressure on her snowy clothes, the outline of two erect, perfectly round moons that released a holy charm could be distinctly seen. Why you? Let go of my master." The blue-clothed girl's mind had long wanted to split Yun Chi into several pieces, and now she completely exploded due to Yun Chi's current actions. With a furious shout, she flew up and charged straight for Yun Chi. The instant she flew, a faint blue-colored ball of profound energy silently erupted from her body. "How dare you?" Murong Kaiengsu's slender brows wrinkled as cold energy congealed in her jade hands. Her hands became two streaks of deep blue as she welcomed the blue-clothed girl. "Senior Master Murong, dodge!" As soon as Murong Kaiengsu rose, the Yun Chi behind her suddenly roared. The instant the profound energy on the blue-clothed girl's body burst, Yun Chi's complexion changed. Even though the other party only released a bit of her profound strength, the spiritual pressure it contained was clearly strong to the point of abnormality. In that instant, it gave Yun Chi's soul a suppressive feeling that was not inferior to Xuanyuan Wenshin in his peak condition. This kind of power was simply not something Murong Kaiengsu was able to withstand. If the blue-clothed girl did not withdraw her hand and completely smashed it onto Murong Kaiengsu would be destined for death. Yun Chi no longer cared about anything else. He didn't even have time to let go of the white-clothed female as he used Star God's broken shadow to instantly dash in front of Murong Kaiengsu. He released all the profound energy in his body and forcibly pushed her away as he welcomed the blue-clothed girl's attack with his left hand. Bang! Boom! Yun Chi's hand made contact with the blue light. That blue light was extremely soft, and it seemed especially gentle, so much that it even gave off a bit of an illusory feeling. However, in a split second, it released an extremely terrifying power. Yun Chi let out a dull groan as he was shot flying. When he landed, he slid back for almost 300 meters before coming to a halt. His left hand slightly shivered with numbness. As for the place where their powers collided, space had completely caved in. A ravine that was several tens of meters long was split open before instantly expanding a few kilometers outwards, drawing a thick black scar on the snow region's originally snow-filled surface. Asgard Master, Big Brother Yun. Toward this scene and this kind of outcome, everyone present, including Yun Chi himself, was caught by surprise. Feng Zuer and all of the frozen cloud females sped to Yun Chi's side amidst their shocked cries. "I'm fine." Yun Chi stood up and lightly sucked in a breath of air, his brows completely sunk. As for Feng Zuer and the frozen cloud ladies, the way they looked at the blue-clothed girl had already changed. Yun Chi's profound strength was publicly acknowledged to be the profound sky continent's best, and he was even the unprecedented foremost person in all of history. He alone could easily trample the sacred grounds who once held the position of the continent's top power. However, when Yun Chi faced off against that blue-clothed girl earlier, the one who held the advantage was actually that blue-clothed girl, and it was even an obvious advantage. The faint blue light, which seemed to possess hardly any power, had almost cracked open the entire snow region of extreme ice. "How about it? Do you see my power now?" The blue-clothed girl swiftly approached with an arrogant tone of voice. "If I wasn't afraid that I would injure Master, I would have snapped off both of those hands that violated her. Hurry up and obediently release my master and then scram. Else, you all know the consequences." Even though arrogance was spread across the blue-clothed girl's face, she was secretly shocked. Weird, his profound strength is only at the 5th level of the sovereign profound realm. That last strike should have left him half dead, so I could directly snatch Master back right after, but he actually seems to not be injured at all. "Who exactly are you?" Jun Lianqi said sharply. Yun Chi handed the white-clothed female to Feng Zuer and shook his numb left hand. He slowly advanced and said in a low voice, "It looks like I have to properly educate you today." "Ah, Big Brother Yun." Feng Zuer hurriedly reached out a hand to stop him. She gently shook her head. "Don't. If you use all your power, the new frozen cloud Asgard that had been rebuilt with great effort would be destroyed again. Xianxia's footsteps immediately paused. Besides, this little sister doesn't seem to have any evil intentions. She's actually kind of cute. She seems like she really just wants her master back. Feng Zuer glanced at the white-clothed female and then suddenly laughed. Big brother Yun, it can't be that you feel that her master is pretty and can't bear to part with her, right? It has nothing to do with that woman. Xianxia slightly gritted his teeth and said angrily, "This girl who came from who knows where suddenly appears and actually dares to sully my great Asgard master name. Simply unforgivable." Feng Zuer laughed with covered lips. "Hey, are you guys even listening to me?" the blue-clothed girl asked impatiently. "Hurry up and release my master, or else I really will make a move." Xianxia no longer came closer. Instead, he took a step back, reached out his hand, spreading it across the front of the white-clothed female's chest and laughed. "What if I still don't feel like it? Why you?" After helplessly seeing Xianxia's hands right at the white-clothed female's chest area with his palm nearly touching the breasts beneath the snowy clothes, the eyes of the blue-clothed girl burned with rage as all the profound energy in her body went into turmoil. "You bastard, you hateful, despicable, shameless, low person. I really will get angry." Her vocabulary list of curses was exceedingly short, and it only amounted to those few words. That joined with the way she looked when she was yelling. Even though she was extremely serious and was cursing quite angrily, there didn't seem to be any power behind it. Forget about making the other party angry. If any other person were to face this, they would even laugh out loud. However, her anger was indeed real. She stretched out a hand, and a blue light flashed within her palm. A snowstorm suddenly emerged out of the blue and covered Xianxia, the person closest to her. Following the howling of the snowstorm instantly picked up Xianxia and immediately swept her beside the blue-clothed girl. Ding! Cold light flashed. Xianxia's body was instantly covered with a layer of weak blue light, and all the profound strength in her body was firmly sealed. The blue-clothed girl grabbed Xianxia's arm as she glared at Xianxia. "Hurry up and give me back my master, or else I'll." She did her best to appear vicious, but her voice still trembled slightly as deep nervousness clearly flickered in her eyes. As a kidnapper, she was even more nervous than the kidnapped person. "Little miss," compared to the blue-clothed girl's evident panic, Xianxia was actually calm as he slowly stated, "Let me earnestly warn you of two things. One, I really hate it when others threaten me. Up to this day, all those that threatened my people would suffer some comparatively grave consequences. Two, the reason why I haven't given you your so-called master back yet is because I was saving her. She has been poisoned for several years, and she nearly lost her life just now. The reason why I pressed my hand on her body was to give her energy to replenish her life force while also expelling the poison. If not, she would have lost her life just now. I'd reckon that I'm the only person in this world who has the ability to save her. If I return her to you, she will stay completely incurable." "Why, you're lying." How could the blue-clothed girl believe that? The flame poison that master was infected by couldn't even be cured by the great realm. There can't possibly be a way to cure it. Not only are you low and hateful, you're also a big liar. I'm not stupid enough to believe you. Xianxia was without words. "Hurry up and give me my master, or else. The blue-clothed girl reached out her hand, condensed a shining icicle, and pointed it at Xianxia. "Sigh." Xianxia helplessly rolled his eyes and said to Feng Zuer, "Zuer, give her master then." Feng Zuer gave a light push. In the next instant, as though she had been carried by a soft wind, the unconscious white-clothed female slowly floated toward the blue-clothed girl. The blue-clothed girl quickly stepped forward and firmly hugged onto the white-clothed female. Then, she retreated tens of meters back before finally relaxing. She lifted her hand to undo the restriction on Xianxia and quickly said a few words. "All right, let me say this first. I'm not a bad person. Everything I did was forced by that lowly man. I've never done this kind of thing before, okay? You are not allowed to slander our Asgard master like this again," Xianxia said coldly. This blue-clothed girl possessed terrifying profound strength, but she unexpectedly did not make anyone feel the slightest bit afraid. Even though some of Asgard Master's actions were indeed improper, other people aren't allowed to talk about him in that way. "HMPH, it's not like what I said was wrong," the blue-clothed girl muttered in a small voice. At this time, she suddenly felt the white-clothed female in her arms slightly stir before slowly opening her eyes. Although she was expressionless, her eyes were still as beautiful as dreamy stars. "Master!" the blue-clothed girl shouted in surprise. Then she said fearfully, "Master H, how are you? Please don't have anything happen to you. You almost scared me to death before, ooh." As she said that, the blue-clothed girl was already crying uncontrollably. The white-clothed female's chest slightly moved as she said softly, "Xianxia, did you feed me something?" "Ah," the blue-clothed girl was stunned. I didn't give Master anything to eat. Master suddenly fell from the sky earlier and then passed out. Then Master woke up just now." The white-clothed female's eyes flashed with bewilderment and surprise. She said softly, "When I lost conscious, my life energy was already depleted. I would undoubtedly die in the next 30 breaths and never wake up again. Why would I reawaken? The poison in my life vein has weakened by a full 30%. "Ah!" The blue-clothed girl was stunned in place. "Was I saved by an expert?" The white-clothed female's voice gradually weakened as her eyes finally saw that there were others around them. But before they had yet to catch them clearly, her eyes misted over and she lost conscious once more. "Master, Master!" the blue-clothed girl anxiously cried. "Zuer, Senior Master Murong, let's go. I've worn myself out for the day, so I ought to get a good rest." Xianxia swung his arms as he turned around and took large steps toward frozen cloud Asgard. "Forget about this random girl who came out of nowhere. Let her do whatever she wants." The blue-clothed girl kneeled before her master and stared blankly for a good while. She thought about what he had said earlier, then suddenly turned around to look at Xianxia and yelled excitedly, "Wait, hey you wait, Didi, do you really have a way to save my master?" "Oh," Xianxia yawned and even stretched his body. He did not stop his steps, nor did he turn his head around. It was as if he didn't hear her yelling at him. Chapter 936, Girl from the God Realm. A blue figure swayed in front of Xianxia, and the blue-clothed girl appeared before him, as if she had teleported while still holding the white-clothed female in her arms. "Master said just now, said that she was saved by someone. Was that really you?" "No, no, no, of course not. I'm a big liar and a despicable, shameless, low person. How could it be me who saved her?" Xianxia looked away angrily. "I have already returned your master to you. What are you still doing here? Hurry and leave." I. The blue-clothed girl panicked at the moment and said immediately, "I know it must be you, because you were the only one who touched Master just now. It was a misunderstanding, please. Can you please save my master? You said so yourself that you had a way to save her." Xianxia looked at her and bluntly said, "That's right, I do have a way to save her, and I am usually a man with a good heart. When your master fell, not only did I catch her, I also immediately took the initiative to extend her life and drive the poison away when I noticed abnormalities in her aura. However, you as her disciple, I will let the fact that you didn't thank me pass, but you straight up called me a despicable, shameless, lowly person, said I molested your master, called me a big fat liar, were going to kill me, and captured Senior Master Murong to use her as a hostage. It seems like you truly want your master to die, so the only thing I can do was to return her to you. So you should leave quick. I promise you in at most a quarter hour she will lose her life. Not even a god can bring her back. You'd best bring her corpse back to where you came from." Xianxia's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. After speaking, he stopped looking at the blue-clothed girl and walked right around her. The blue-clothed girl was stunned by Xianxia's yelling. Seeing that Xianxia was about to leave again, she immediately put herself in front of him and said nervously, "I'm sorry, it was my fault. I shouldn't have yelled at you. It was all my fault. I didn't know that you were saving Master then. I didn't know that you were actually this skillful." Xianxia's footsteps stopped, slanted his eyes. "What did you just say? It was your fault?" "Amen, it was my fault. It really was my fault." Seeing Xianxia stopped, the blue-clothed girl immediately started nodding like a chick pecking rice. "Please be magnanimous and save my master. I will definitely repay you." "If you know you are at fault," Xianxia held his arms across his chest and said slowly, "then tell me, how are you wrong?" The blue-clothed girl's profound strength was indeed shockingly strong, but her character was surprisingly innocent. How could she be a match to an old fox like Xianxia? Forced into this situation, she blanked and didn't have any thoughts of using force to threaten him. She could only say obediently, I shouldn't have yelled at you, shouldn't have misunderstood you, shouldn't have. It was all my fault. I really know my mistake now. Please, you must save my master." Xianxia could see that she felt mistreated, worried, and afraid, and realized that she would probably start crying if she was forced to keep talking. However, he continued wearing a cold expression. "Then am I still a big liar?" No, the blue-clothed girl immediately shook her head. Then am I still a lowly person? Xianxia asked pretty angrily. The blue-clothed girl hesitated for the time of 2 breaths and lowered her head. She flushed a little as her voice softened by several octaves. No. At number percent, this little girl was so obvious when she's lying. All right, since you have already admitted your fault, I will forgive you. Goodbye. Ah, the blue-clothed girl was stunned there, and then she teleported in a hurry to block Xianxia once more. Wait. I'm already trying very hard to admit my fault, and you said you forgive me, so my master. What about your master? Xianxia curled his lips. You did something wrong, so it is only natural to admit your fault and apologize. We are barely even now. What does this have to do with your master? You, the blue-clothed girl, was angry, impatient, and wronged. How could you do this? I already admitted my fault. Why are you still unwilling to save my master? Why should I save her? Xianxia asked back. Your master was poisoned by a very terrifying toxin. Judging by how much the toxin in her has spread, it is certain that she has carried this toxin with her for a long time. It will take a very long time to forcefully extend her life against this kind of toxin. The price of it must be very great. You should think and understand how difficult and expensive it is to cure this kind of toxin. The blue-clothed girl's lips opened a little. She's not my relative, not my friend, and certainly not my wife. She is someone I had never met before, whom I have no affiliation with. Why should I pay such a price to save someone unrelated to me? Xianxia said with a straight face. The blue-clothed girl couldn't stop stuttering. Speaking of which, I really was going to save her. After all, saving a life is more praiseworthy than building a 7-storied pagoda. On top of that, saving a beauty is even more, cough cough. Too bad I was treated as someone with an ill intent by some peeping Tom who yelled at me and even wanted to kill me. Why should I still save her? Xianxia turned around, walking around her in quick steps. Do not follow me again, or else I will chase you away. This time, the blue-clothed girl didn't stop Xianxia again. She stood there silently, looking at the pale-faced, white-clothed female in her arms who had an extremely weak aura. The tears that she tried to hold in finally rustled down as she sobbed helplessly. Saba, I really didn't mean it. It was me. I caused master. Feng Zuer couldn't bear the girl's tears. She immediately went up, pulled Xianxia and said softly, Big brother Yun, stop scaring her. She already knows she's at fault. Turning around, she comforted the blue-clothed girl. Little sister, don't worry. Big brother Yun is a really good person. He was just scaring you just now. If you plead with him seriously, he will definitely be willing to save your master. The blue-clothed girl looked up. Her nose twitched, but her eyes were reignited with the color of hope. She carefully stepped forward with her head lowered and said with her eyes filled with tears, Please, can you save my master? It was my fault before. I shouldn't have yelled at you, shouldn't have misunderstood you, shouldn't have taken that big sister hostage just now. The debts I owe to my master are as weighty as a mountain. If master is no longer alive, I also do not want to live anymore. Please, if you are willing to save my master, I will do anything for you. Sobs filled the girl's voice, and every one of her pleading words were lovely. Forget about Feng Zuer, the surrounding frozen cloud maidens couldn't bear it either. Even Murong Xianxia, who she had kidnapped before, looked at Xianxia with pleading eyes. Xianxia's mind was in a mess. This girl's profound strength was abnormally strong. Even though she had released her aura for a split second, it was definitely on par with Xianxia Wenchen from back then, and it surely wasn't her full strength either. If she possessed such terrifying, profound strength, she had to at least be a freak who had lived for thousands of years. But judging from her appearance and temperament, she actually seemed to simply be a girl who wasn't versed in the things of the world. Could it be that she really was just like her appearance, only a teenage girl? A youth could surpass Xianxia Wenchen's profound strength? How could this be possible? Xianxia turned around and stared at the blue-clothed girl with an indifferent gaze. You said before that as long as I save your master, you'd do anything. Amen. The blue-clothed girl obviously didn't realize the severity of this promise to Xianxia and nodded her head immediately. If you are willing to save my master, I will repay you well. Then good, Xianxia nodded. The toxin has spread all over your master's body. If we forcefully cure it, it will only kill her faster, so we can only take this slow. To get rid of the toxin completely while keeping her life, it will take about a month's time. During this time, you will accompany me in bed. All the ladies of Frozen Cloud unconsciously made a tender gasp, and the blue-clothed girl was stunned in place. Accompany you in bed. That's right. To put it simply, you will serve me during the day and sleep with me during the night. Xianxia's half-narrowed eyes revealed a burning lust. Even if the blue-clothed girl was more innocent, even if she was even less versed in the things of the world, she ought to still know what sleep with me meant. She immediately paled. "No, how can you do that? Is there a problem?" Xianxia said without changing his expression. "I am a despicable, shameless, and low person, so of course I should propose conditions that only a despicable, shameless, and low person would propose. You kept saying that the debts you owe to your master are as weighty as a mountain, and you are willing to do anything for your master. At the moment, you only have to accompany me in bed for a short month to save your master. This is such a great deal, but it seems like you are not willing again. It looks like your master's life and safety in your heart is only worth that much." "No, no." The blue-clothed girl shook her head. She fiercely bit her lip and troubled tears started flowing yet again. I, Big Brother Yun." Feng Zuer couldn't bear it any longer. She gently pinched Xianxia's hand and said softly, "She's already crying and you're still bullying her. Who told her to tarnish my Asgard master's pure reputation?" Xianxia's resentment had yet to disappear. What angered him the most was not that she had cursed at him the moment she came over, nor was it because she had kidnapped Murong Xianxia. Instead, it was actually because she had tattled on the fact that he had molested Feng Hanyu in front of Murong Xianxia, Jun Lianqi, Mu Lani, Chu Yueli, and the rest of the Frozen Cloud disciples. That was simply intolerable. Feng Zuer laughed lightly and teased, "Big Brother Yun, do you really think that Senior Master Murong and the others don't know about that? Your pure reputation is long gone. No, I should say that it never existed in the first place." Xianxia, "Oh, what? Little sister, don't be afraid. Big Brother Yun is not a bad guy. He was just joking with you just now." Feng Zuer comforted the blue-clothed girl. All right, all right." Xianxia wore a helpless face, and he even looked at Murong Xianxia and the others with a slight guilt before finally saying with a straight face, "There's no need to accompany me in bed. You just have to seriously answer me a few questions and I'll immediately save your master." The blue-clothed girl lifted her watery eyes and said unbelievably, "Ray, really? HMPH. There are really not many people as kind as me in the whole world." Xianxia posed an aloof attitude, as though he was the world's savior, and then directly asked, "First question, what is your name?" I am Sidhu Lanlin. Master gave me the name Mu Xiaolin." The blue-clothed girl quietly wiped away her tears and answered seriously. It seemed like she was afraid Xianxia wouldn't be satisfied, so she took the initiative and said both her original name and the name her master bestowed upon her. Sidhu Lanlin. Black lines hung from Xianxia's forehead. This little girl's profound strength was even scarier than Xianxia Wenqin's, but her name was so childish. Xianxia Wenqin, Sidhu Lanlin. Just by hearing these names, the former was a big boss, and the latter seemed to just be a little girl who sold flowers on the side of the road. Who the hell would believe that she was stronger than Xianxia Wenqin? More importantly, the name her master had given her was even more childish. It was exactly like a pet name of a child who hasn't been through weaning. I am not lying, they are both my names." Seeing the muscles on Xianxia's face suddenly start twitching without order, Mu Xiaolin thought he didn't believe her. "I didn't say I don't believe you." Xianxia straightened his face and continued to ask, "Then how old are you now?" 19. Mu Xiaolin's answers were all soft and timid, as though she was still traumatized by Xianxia's bluff though she was still traumatized by Xianxia's bluff 19. Xianxia's eyes jumped abruptly. Feng Zuer and the ladies of Frozen Asgard were all extremely shocked. This little girl who had knocked Xianxia away with only one palm was only 19, which meant that this white-clothed female that she called master was definitely a lot stronger than her. Where did this monstrous master and disciple pair come from? Xianxia took a small breath and continued to ask, "Then you and your master, where did you two come from?" Mu Xiaolin looked a bit panicked as she shook her head unconsciously. This, without the order of my master, I cannot say." "Oh," Xianxia nodded, turned around, "Goodbye." "Ah, wait, I'll talk," Mu Xiaolin yelled in panic. She lowered her head and said very quietly, "My master and I are from the Snow Song Realm." Snow Song Realm? The disciples of the Frozen Asgard all looked at each other. None of them had heard this name before. Feng Zuer looked at Xianxia with surprise. "Big Brother Yun, have you ever heard of it?" Xianxia shook his head. Mu Xiaolin's answer confirmed his guess from before, and he suddenly understood. "You two are really not from this world." "Not this world?" Feng Zuer's face was filled with surprise. "Could it be that they are?" "The Snow Song Realm you're talking about, does it belong to a place called the Realm of the Gods?" Xianxia's brows unconsciously locked as he asked with great discretion. A 19-year-old girl whose profound energy was even stronger than the incredibly terrifying Xianxia Wenshin. Yet she didn't even possess much of a calculating mind. How could this little girl be someone who belonged to this plane? Simply based on Xianxia Wenshin's profound strength, he definitely had already stepped into the divine way, so it was extremely possible that this little girl was someone who had truly stepped into the divine way. It was also extremely possible that the Snow Song realm she came room was. Ah! Mu Xiaolan looked at him with surprise. You actually know about our god realm? Yunqi. This response was undoubtedly a conclusive acknowledgement. She was indeed from the plane that was called Realm of the Gods. Big brother Yunqi? Feng Zuer cried out in surprise, then immediately went on guard. She sent her next words to Yunqi via sound transmission. She's actually from the same world as your master. Yunqi's chest distinctly undulated. Even though he had a feeling this was the case, his heart was still unable to calm down for a long while. He wanted to see Jasmine. He really wanted to go to the realm of the gods and know more about the god realm. And the girl before him, she was from the same world as Jasmine. He could perhaps learn many things he wanted to know about from her. If they could come here, then there had to be some method of going back. Perhaps, let me ask you one final question. Yunqi's heart calmed down a little as he continued to ask with a straight face. What is your master's name? At this point, the girl couldn't hide anything anymore and could only continue to answer in a tiny voice. Master's noble name is Mu Bingyun. Chapter 937, Frozen Cloud Ancestor Mu Bingyun. Yunqi's eyebrows twitched. Why did this name sound so familiar? Mu Bingyun, she actually has the same name as our Frozen Cloud's ancestor, Murong Xianxia suddenly said. This can count as some type of fate, Mu Lanny said right after. The two girls' words suddenly reminded Yunqi. That's right. The ancestor who founded Frozen Cloud Asgard 1,000 years ago was also called Mu Bingyun. This was such a coincidence. They're not the same names. Mu Xiaolan shook her head. Since she was already forced to say what she wasn't allowed say, then there was no use to keep that secret any longer, and it could become a reason for Yunqi to save her master. My master is the ancestor of your Frozen Cloud Asgard. It was my master who built Frozen Cloud Asgard 1,000 years ago. Yunqi. The Frozen Cloud ladies were all slightly shocked. Murong Xianxia said in response, Little miss, I understand that you want to save your master, but you cannot say such nonsense. My Asgard's ancestor passed away 1,000 years ago. No one is allowed to offend her celestial name. I am not saying nonsense. Seeing that none of them believed her, Mu Xiaolan panicked. 1,000 years ago, Master had been set up by the flame, some bad people. While amidst danger, she forcefully used a dimensional stone to escape. She was already on this continent when she woke up, but by then she was poisoned with severe toxin, and she lost her power and memory because of her severe wound. Frozen Cloud Asgard was built during the process Master of recovering her memory and strength. After Master's strength and memory were completely recovered, she left. She didn't pass away. Impossible. Jun Lianqi shook her head firmly. It is impossible for something like this to happen. What I'm saying is all true. Mu Xiaolan became more anxious. The reason my master and I appeared here is because Frozen Cloud Asgard was still on Master's mind. Oh yeah, I heard Master say that. Back then she left in a place she named Frozen End Divine Hall. And she had even carved the Ice Phoenix God investiture cannon on the walls of the Frozen End Divine Hall. Ah, no. It was a divine art called the Frozen End Divine Arts. She passed her position down to the second Asgard mistress, named Kayin. She was a baby that Master found at the edge of Navy Tide Nation. The name Kayin was also given by Master. Also, at the time, Master had two-dimensional stones. She used one of them to travel back to the Snow Song realm and left the other one in the Frozen End Divine Hall and built a dimensional profound formation for escaping when Frozen Cloud Asgard gets into danger. Ah! Murong Xianxia, Mu Lanny, Jun Lianqi, Chu Yuili, Feng Hanyu, and Feng Hangsu were all stunned in place. Yunqi, who carried Frozen Cloud Celestial Soul and knew all the memories of the ancestors of Frozen Cloud Asgard, was even more shocked. Especially, he had just clearly heard the 5 words, Ice Phoenix God Investiture Cannon, from Mu Xiaolan's mouth. At the same time, something that Jasmine said to him in the very beginning flashed across his mind at an instant. The Frozen End Divine Art made a sudden appearance 1,000 years ago due to the Frozen Cloud ancestor, Mu Bingyun. Before that, there were no previous records of it. Didn't you find something fishy about that? This profound art is not as simple as you believe it to be. And if you want to cultivate it, you will need the blood or soul of a certain divine beast. If not, even if your comprehension is top-notch and you are able to understand it, you will never be able to release even the teensiest bit of its power. It's better if you just saved your strength and stopped trying. Even if you gave them another 10,000 years, they would still not be able to cultivate the frozen end divine arts. The reason Xia Qingyu and you could cultivate it is because Xia Qingyu has the 9 profound, exquisite body, so she can break through the boundaries of most natural laws. As for you, you have the evil god's profound veins, so you can ignore both the natural order and the laws of nature. Moreover, you also have the water spirit evil body. All those years ago, you managed to forcibly skip 4 levels of the world ode of the Phoenix and comprehend the 5th and 6th level of it. So forcibly cultivating the frozen end divine art was the much easier feat by far. However, whether it was you or Xia Qingyu, even though the frozen end divine art that the both of you use far outstrips that of any normal ice-based profound art, it is merely a pale shadow of the true frozen end divine art. But if you think about it, the true frozen end divine art is a primordial divine art that is on the same level as the world ode of the Phoenix. During the primordial era of gods, the vermilion bird, the phoenix and the golden crow were the 3 supreme fire attribute beasts. The element of water also had 3 supreme rulers as well, and that was the blue dragon, the ice phoenix, and the ice killin. Ice was the form of water that possessed the most might, so the ice phoenix's and ice killin's power was governed by ice. Only the blue dragon's power was governed by water, so the power of its ice was inferior to that of the ice phoenix and the ice killin. Furthermore, this frozen end divine art is actually the primordial divine art that was passed down by the ice phoenix. I can definitively confirm one thing for you. This world definitely does not contain the legacy of the ice phoenix. The ice phoenix god investiture canon, the ice phoenix that Jasmine had once mentioned, and saying certainly that this world definitely does not contain the legacy of the ice phoenix. Could it be? Is there another way you can prove this? Yun-Chi lowered his eyebrows and asked. He had already started to believe what Mu Xiaolan was saying, because this little girl looked like she didn't know how to lie at all. Mu Xiaolan tried to think for a bit and then suddenly took a step back. Her whole body flashed with a faint blue light. Ice spirits danced around, and on the palm that she had reached out, a small, delicate ice blue jade tree grew slowly, its icy branches and snow leaves expanding gorgeously. Ah, frozen end divine arts? The frozen cloud ladies all let out a gasp. Yun-Chi was slightly stunned. His eyes were focused on the blue light in Mu Xiaolan's palm as if he was attracted by an invisible power, and he didn't shift his gaze away for a long time. Before his eyes were, no question, the frozen end divine arts. Because the thing growing on Mu Xiaolan's palm was the most common tree of frozen end that was used in frozen end divine arts. But the frozen end aura that was released from Mu Xiaolan was very different from the frozen end aura that he knew. The frozen end divine art that he had cultivated was simply a relatively strong ice attribute profound art. And on Mu Xiaolan, whether it was the profound light, profound energy, or the tree of frozen end in her palm, they all seemed as if they were alive, as if they possessed an independent soul while releasing cold law he had never before touched. Could this be what Jasmine was talking about back then, driven by the blood of Ice Phoenix or the soul of Ice Phoenix, the true frozen end divine arts? This is the frozen end divine arts that Master left here before. Back then, Master's memory hadn't completely recovered yet. Even though she remembered the divine art, she couldn't remember its name. Frozen End Divine Arts was the name that she gave temporarily, and its real name is Ice Phoenix God Investiture Canon. At the same time, Master had also forgotten the special condition that was needed to cultivate Ice Phoenix God Investiture Canon. Normal people wouldn't be able to cultivate it. When she finally remembered, she self-created a new profound art. I remember that it's called Frozen Cloud Arts. And also, Mu Xiaolan seemed to have thought of something. She hurried and brushed her hand on the white-clothed female's body. At that instant, a small, delicate diamond-shaped icicle floated from the white-clothed female's body and released in strange, dreamy blue light in the sky. That is the Frozen Cloud Celestial Soul? The disciples of Frozen Cloud all gasped once again. Everyone present was well aware of what the Frozen Cloud Celestial Soul was, because this was one of the most precious treasure of Frozen Cloud Asgard. It was the proof of identity for every generation's Asgard mistresses. It also carried all the arts of frozen cloud Asgard and memories of the previous Asgard mistresses. And in this generation, the frozen cloud celestial soul was naturally on Xianxia. In the profound sky continent, the frozen cloud celestial soul was absolutely unique. It is actually not called the frozen cloud celestial soul. It is the ice phoenix frost crystal that is unique to Snow Song realm. Even though it is a frost crystal, it will never melt and can be fused into a person's body. It is an extremely good soul vessel. All this should prove that I am not lying, right? Xianxia was a bit worked up. When she was talking, she kept looking at the white-clothed female in her arms, scared that she would be in a critical state. Could it be she really is the frozen cloud ancestor? The ladies of Frozen Cloud all looked at each other in shock. When they first heard that the white-clothed female surnamed Mew was their frozen cloud ancestor who had supposedly passed away 1,000 years ago, it was their instinct to not believe it. But what Xianxia had said, and the evidence she had yelled out in panic were like strikes of lightning, forcing them to not be able to disbelieve it anymore while still being in shock deep down in their hearts. They already believed it. But with what they knew previously, they couldn't simply just accept this kind of fantasy story. All the things that I have said, every word is true. The frozen end divine arts and the frozen cloud celestial soul that you were mentioned, all of this. There is no reason for you all to not believe me. Frozen Cloud Asgard was built by Master 1,000 years ago, and you are all members of Frozen Cloud Asgard, so there is no reason to not save her. Big brother Yun? Feng Zuer looked at Xianxia's extremely complicated expression and called out softly. We'll talk about the matter of whether or not your master is the Frozen Cloud ancestor when she has woken up. Xianxia opened his mouth and said, Come with me. After saying that, Xianxia turned around and walked away with fast steps. All the panic on Xianxia's face transformed into hopeful joy. She immediately held the white-clothed female tightly and quickly followed behind Xianxia. The frozen cloud ladies stood in place, everyone's snowy faces filled with an unresolvable shock and dullness. She is really the ancestral Asgard mistress, Jun Lianqi said in startlement. Seems like it's real, Chu Yueli said softly. Frozen End Divine Arts, Frozen Cloud Asgard, Frozen End Divine Hall, the mysterious teleportation formation, the name Mu Bingyun, the second Asgard mistress name and identity, everything of everything, they all completely matched without a single deviation. And based on how Xianxia looked, they couldn't find any trace of her ever lying. Heavens! Feng Hanyu and Feng Hangsu's pink lips were wide open, and they couldn't close them for a very long time. Xianxia took Xianxia straight to the snow congealing hall. An obviously cooler atmosphere than other places, along with a thick smell of medicine, greeted them. Put her on the ice bed, Xianxia commanded. As someone from the god realm, Xianxia didn't dare to disobey him even though she was being ordered around by someone from a lower realm. She immediately did as she was told, and carefully put the white-clothed female on the ice bed in front of Xianxia. Xianxia's eyes swept across the white-clothed female's body and then slanted his eyes at Xianxia. What are you still doing here? Leave at once and close the door behind you. Without my permission, no one is allowed to come in. Ah! Xianxia's mouth was wide open. She had seen Xianxia's barbarity with her own eyes before. How could she accept her own master, being in the room alone with him when she had no ability to defend herself? Why do I need to leave? I can help on the side. Little miss, don't you know, when a genius doctor is saving people, there can't be anyone nearby to distract him. If anything goes wrong when I am saving her, she will definitely lose her life. Are you sure you want to stay? Xianxia's words instantly frightened Xianxia. This concerned the life of the white-clothed female, so she didn't dare to speak anymore. She stepped back and said softly, Then I'll leave, but you must save my master. She moved away step by step, each step filled with extreme worry, and finally walked out of the snow congealing hall. When the hall door was closed halfway, it was suddenly opened again. She stuck out her small head and said, I'm warning you, do not do anything to my master that you shouldn't do. After speaking, she immediately closed the hall door and fled. Xianxia, facing the white-clothed female laying on the ice bed, Xianxia took a small breath and his mind quickly calmed. With Xianxia's explanation and with what Jasmine had said before, on top of the fact that they appeared in the sky above Frozen Cloud Asgard, Xianxia was almost certain that she really was the Mu Bingyun who founded Frozen Cloud Asgard 1,000 years ago. The frozen cloud of Frozen Cloud Asgard came from the Bingyun in her name. In the memories and legends about the Frozen Cloud ancestor, They said she had turned into feathers when she passed away in the frozen and divine hall, and no one had ever seen her corpse. The memories in the frozen cloud celestial soul contained all the appearances of the previous Asgard mistresses, except for ancestor Mu Bingyun. This abnormality was answered perfectly by the bizarre truth. Yun Qi reached out his hands and started to quickly circulate the power of Rage God, but he didn't immediately release the purification power of the Sky Poison Pearl, because there was one thing that he had to be extra careful about. The white-clothed female in front of her, whether or not she was Mu Bingyun, had to be someone from the God realm. And at that plane, there had to be many records about the Sky Poison Pearl. The day when he first met Jasmine, who had never seen Sky Poison Pearl before, recognized it at first glance. The toxin in the white-clothed female was too deep. Not only did it spread to her life vein, profound vein, and bone marrow, it also invaded her soul, just like how Jasmine was back then. The purification could only be executed in an incredibly slow manner. It wasn't false when he told Mu Xiaolan that it would take a month of time. Using a whole month of time to cure the poison using the Sky Poison Pearl for someone from the God realm with an unknown profound strength, there was a very high chance that the Sky Poison Pearl would be recognized. In her condition, aside from using the Sky Poison Pearl, there was no other way to save her. Forget it, I'll decide on it later. The reason why she established Frozen Cloud Asgard was to save those poor girls who were abandoned. She shouldn't be someone ungrateful. Also, if she could take him to the realm of the gods to find Jasmine, it would be a risk that was completely worth it. Under the fast circulation of his mind energy, Yun Qi flipped his palms and covered it over the white-clothed female's chest. The rich energy of heaven and earth instantly flowed into her life vein as a weak purification light flickered within his palms.